Yes, hello everybody and welcome once again to the Brink for episode 35 of the Brinkaliciously awesome podcast that you know and love as we move towards the end of July and get closer to the month of August. Just thought I would mention that in case you're wondering the date. We never seem to mention that here on the show, but it doesn't really matter when it's a weekly podcast at this stage. We've got another big episode for you today. We have the return of a very fun guest of ours that we used to have on the show plenty of times, a few other random guests along the way, and some classic memories that you will love. But usually I always start off the show just quickly by going over where you've been listening to us from and looking at these statistics from the last week. Hello again to our Austrian listeners that we touched on last week, as well as all our local listeners. I didn't really touch too much on those. But also in the US, a couple of listeners again, and also Winnipeg as well. I wonder if that must be our dear friend, Mr. Colin Hilding, who you might hear from on this episode. Colin, if you do listen to these, hello, thank you for being a listener. And if it's not you and it's somebody else from Winnipeg, go say hello to Colin. He's a nice guy, and I'm sure if you just open up a phone book and see the word Colin, then you'll know where to find him. So, yeah, just always take this opportunity to send a shout out to everybody who listens, because without you guys, you wouldn't hear my voice, and then you wouldn't be able to hear those. Thank you.
One thing that we have done a lot on this show since we've been podcast form is we obviously find old guests that we've had on the show because we don't have a creative bone in our body and we just decide to recycle stuff. We're basically Hollywood. And speaking of Hollywood, we found our former favouritest ice hockey player in the world. I say former because we don't really commentate on it anymore, so I can't really say he's my current favourite one. He's Dakota Leary's favourite one. Of course, it's Marcus Hollywood Bendall. Hello, Marcus. Welcome back to the Brink. It's been a while.
Thanks, Ben. How the fuck are you?
I'm fucking fantastic. You missed being able to say that word when we were in studio. I know you've been on High Noon. We didn't exactly be completely calm that day, but
yeah, I don't think I was welcome back after that day, but that was good.
You're welcome back anytime you want. I mean, you can come on this Friday if you're not doing anything, sure, but yeah, say fuck, shit, balls, whatever. The other week,
is this the Brink after hours?
This is
the
just
Brink up late.
Fucking Brink, like, you know. I mean, the other week when I was in Alaska and we had Vicky on, I mean, it was just cunt, cunt, cunt. So I mean, like, say whatever you want, just don't be racist. Now. You say the C word, but
thanks,
not the M word. Now, I wanted to actually ask you, because you and I have just sat down here and we've done a episode on Baby Driver. We went and saw that the other day, download now via the Oz Network. But you sort of experienced our Spider-Man Homecoming spoiler-free review.
Yes.
To which you promptly messaged me saying, "Oh, I'm so angry at you two. I just want to scream at the speakers like, you two, you suck." What did we say wrong? What was wrong about it, Marcus? What's wrong that our opinions?
See, I know that we brought this up, but now I'm on the spot trying to remember exactly what it was. I think for me it was the stuff you're talking about the high school experience and the way that they redefined that. Because you were talking about how the pretty girl that he's in love with was head of the mathletes.
Right, okay, so it wasn't like a cheerleader.
And how the bully was not like the high school quarterback. Okay. He was on the mathletes as well. And you were saying how that actually annoyed you and you didn't find it, I don't know whether you didn't find it believable, but you just found it out of line with the tropes that Spider-Man had usually gone with. Is that about correct?
About correct. I wouldn't say believable, but I mean, on my vast knowledge of the Spider-Man comics, considering I've never read one in my life, you know, judging off the Sam Raimi and Mark Webb films, yes, sure. I didn't like it.
Yeah, fair. Well, I know at one point you were saying, you know, you've never heard of this Liz character.
No.
Well, in the... Now I'm going to get off.
I'm really getting schooled here.
Oh, wow. I should tell you, in the original Spider-Man...
On page 17 of issue 36...
Liz Allen was actually his first crush in the comics.
Okay, right.
Well before they introduced Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy.
Right.
And so, canonically, accurate. And, I don't know, I like the idea that her trope of being really pretty but also being head of the mathletes, whatever they were called, decathlon.
Yeah, academic decathlon, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I've been watching Freaks and Geeks recently, and they've got mathletes on there. So.
Well, the same difference.
Yeah.
They always get bashed at school. So
I just found it very refreshing to have that, because it felt a lot more realistic, and people were talking about how, these days, a bully at an American high school is not some jockey quarterback in like a Letterman's jacket. It's the guy who's in your groups and similar interests who's just a dick the whole time.
Right.
and who's really good at making other people be a dick to you.
So is that kind of then on that notion, and this is sort of science, but it's still in the Spider-Man universe, what they did with Andrew Garfield's geekiness in the Amazing Spider-Man series, I had a problem with the fact that they kind of made him like a cool geek, like a cool, attractive geek, and to me, that's not what Peter Parker should be.
Yeah, I guess the problem is to modernise it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's been a long time since either of us has been at school.
Yeah, speak for yourself, Marcus.
Thanks to the restraining order.
There the other day, but yes, exactly. I've been told not to go within a certain amount of metres from that school.
Disclaimer, need the banner right.
How far away from the nearest school? I didn't check that before I came over.
Is your ankle buzzing?
Shit.
I mean, yeah, geek's the new chic. Like, the nerdy Peter Parker characters are, as far as I can tell from school, from what I've heard of what school's like nowadays, they're not sort of these ridiculed guys shoved into loggers anymore. It's, I mean, the freaks and geeks. Those characters, those geeks are, they're going to inherit the earth.
So you basically like the take on how they did it.
He was still a socially awkward loser, and that's Peter Parker. But I felt like they took the essence of the character and they modernized it. And what I really liked about, the love interest being Liz Allen. Well, it wasn't Liz Allen. It was. Just
say it was MJ for God's sake.
No, it wasn't. It was
people have seen it. Whatever, we just spoiled it for you.
All right. Well, I'm about to. There's only like one bit of Spider-Man left to spoil. So
she's MJ.
I'm just gonna. It's that Liz Allen is actually Liz Toombs.
Oh,
the daughter of the Vulture.
That spoiler. Of course, I did watch the movie.
Yeah,
I thought I ruined it with Never mind. Just ignore me.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the schools.
That was the only twist in the whole film.
Yeah, it was a good twist.
It was an excellent twist, and I didn't see it coming.
No, me neither.
So unless there's some weird naming convention, she wasn't Liz Allen. She was Liz Toombs.
Yeah,
because he's referred to as Mr. Toombs. But I think the idea behind her character is that she was never meant to be this, like, perfect love interest for Peter. She was this really pretty girl that was kind of had similar interests to him and he was obsessed with, but she wasn't the girl for him.
They had no chemistry.
They had no chemistry, but that was on purpose.
Okay.
Because, they never kiss, right?
Spoiler.
There's like zero sexual chemistry between them. There's no tension. She was just this pretty girl that he really liked. He asked her to the prom. She said yes. They're in the back of the car. They barely look at each other. They're staring at their phones.
Very modern.
And then she moves. And then at the end of the film, again, spoiler, people that don't want to have Spider-Man spoiled for them.
You shouldn't be listening to The Brink. Come on.
Just
fuck off.
Press pause, walk out of your house, get in your car, drive to the cinema, watch Spider-Man Homecoming.
They come back and listen.
Drive home.
I wonder if somebody actually would do that. Like, seriously?
Just give me a minute.
Catherine.
Why Catherine?
Because she's like the one listener who listens to all my shows.
Catherine just hit pause.
She would have seen Spider-Man, I can tell you that now. Anyway.
It's meant to be that dumb crush you have on a pretty girl at high school that you actually don't like that much.
Well, I wouldn't know what that is. A, I went to an all-boys high school, and B, all my dumb crushes I did like too much, and that's why I'm single.
Was it Brittany?
Say shut
Kylie?
up. You leave them out of this. You leave them out of this. You've got Natalie, but that's Natalie Portman. She's not a singer. But overall,
this sounds like Mumbo number 5. I like Brittany.
Lou Baker's been on this show. You be careful. Okay. Did you like the Amazing Spider? Not the Amazing Spider-Man. Did you like the Amazing Spider-Man? Rank the Spider-Mans.
Sam Raimi's The Amazing Spider-Man 3: Homecoming.
Featuring the Green Vulture.
Yeah, I did. I really liked it. I hated that it took so long for them to make a Spider-Man film that felt like a Spider-Man, like that much like a Spider-Man film. And I mean, I've always been, I still as an adult have Spider-Man pajamas.
You've got Spider-Man coasters sitting in front of you.
Yeah, I mean,
he's your favourite superhero.
Yeah, absolutely. He's
my third favourite.
Okay.
Superman and Batman, the ones that are kissing on your pillow, are my two favourites.
Okay.
Marcus has a kissing pillow of Batman and Superman, because why wouldn't they want to make out in a pillow?
It's, lovers, not fighters.
Where's the Spider-Man Iron Man making out session, or is that a bit wrong because of the age gap? Again, this is only meant to be a short segment. This is a whole other thing on the Oz Network. But where would you rank this out of the 6 films that we've had? Give me a number. You don't. I mean, you can give me all 6 in a row if you want to. I know I'm keeping you from your girlfriends. Hi, Lena. She's probably listening to us talking right now. But we did invite her to come on the show, by the way.
Honestly, I'd probably say it's my favourite Spider-Man film.
Okay. Spider-Man 3 is obviously your second favourite.
I have famously seen every Spider-Man film the day it came out at the earliest showing at my nearest cinema.
Famously. You're documented.
Famous amongst me.
It's famous amongst the Launceston citizens who know you from Mama's Pizza, pulling an app out of your phone and seeing Spider-Man at the opening
laser
moment.
hair removal, mate.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on quickly before, because we'll get you on again. We miss you on the Brink for sure. I asked you on the Oz Network, available now via iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher, about you're still playing ice hockey. How are the Falcons doing this year? Because I feel bad that I've neglected the league. Because I know you've got a new team now, and it seems that the new team have gotten all the draft concessions because they're winning the league, are they not?
I've been away for the past couple of weeks, and I'm in charge of entering the stats into the ladder.
Right.
And I haven't had any of the stats sent to me to enter the ladder, and I haven't been there to take photos. So I'm not actually sure what the ladder looks like at the moment. I can't give you accurate details. Couple of weeks ago, Falcons hit top of the ladder.
Okay.
And then I think within 2 games, we're down to 3rd or 4th.
The last time I saw it was very tight between top 4. It looked like the Sharks had really fallen off, but it looked like that top 4 was separated.
Sharks have not had a good start to the year.
It's Polari factor. You lose Mickey, you lose the league.
And the Icebreakers have been off to an absolute flyer.
Yep.
Red Barons are putting up quite a fight, and the Cougars got a lot of fight back, even though they've lost Paul Joyce, their star player from
the reason they won the premiership
season.
last year.
Yeah, they've still got a lot of that fire and enthusiasm. And there's probably 7 or 8 new faces, not including the whole Icebreakers team of new players shared around the teams, and good players, imports from. I think we've got some. Got another Canadian somewhere.
Of course you do. They're always sniffing around.
We'll be able to do a team of Canadians pretty soon.
Yeah, why not?
We're gonna we want to do a Canada versus Australia match.
I'll be there. I'll represent Canada. I have a Canadian shirt. I've got more Canadian clothes than Australian clothes.
Yeah, I've got a Canada scarf.
Yeah.
And so yeah. Look, it's been an interesting season. I'm keen to get back and kind of see what's up. Yeah, like I said, I'm meant to be in charge of keeping the stats. Our website got hacked about a month ago.
Those bastards at ISIS.
And it was
because of all the sites you want to hack.
Yeah,
it's the icehockeytasmania.com.
Yeah, so that we actually lost everything. I managed to lose all of it. The backup that I had was corrupted, so I need to rebuild it from scratch. So at the moment, it's not a lot going on.
You know what it is? Since we stopped doing commentary, everything's gone to shit. So I'll tell you what, if I'm still in the state when the finals are on, I'll obviously come and do the playoffs. I do miss doing it. I really do. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But Marcus, I think we've gone longer than 10 minutes. I'm going to get into trouble by Lena here, so I better shut up. Thank you for joining us here in the Brink. You're welcome back any time, and feel free to close with a swear word. Put you on the spot.
Waterworth.
Oh, that hurts my feelings.
I'm very, very excited to be able to talk to our next guest here on the show today because back in the days of the Brink, classic Brink, back in the morning days and all those days that you used to listen back all those years ago, he was pretty much our most frequent guest for some time. I think he held the record for most frequent guest for about 90% of the show's history. And I'd probably say the very first ever guest I would have interviewed probably in my radio career back when I was a fresh young 17-year-old and didn't know from a goose. But I do, of course, speak...
One of the greatest gongs I hold.
Yes, exactly. That's clearly there with a bullet on your CV when you go out there. I do, of course, speak of renowned Tasmanian singer, songwriter, the one, the only, Mr. Adam Cousens. Adam, mate, it's been too long. Why has it been too long between talking to you? It's not good enough.
Hello. Great to speak to you again, Ben. And yes, it does seem like quite a long time since I've spoken to you. Time does seem to fly when you're having fun, doesn't it?
It really does, and I think you and I established it's been a couple of years. I mean, there are kind of reasons behind that. Probably haven't really done much radio in 2 years, but hey, cool, we're back. Since sort of obviously we kind of brought the Brink back as a podcast, and then High Noon, it's sort of trying to get you back on, and kind of like really, needed to go back in time to sort of bring back those memories, because I really do think that you were the very first person I would have interviewed in my entire life. So that's kind of
do believe that is the case.
Wow.
I think I can even remember the interview.
How bad was it?
Coming in, it was very early. It was a very early interview, and I came in wearing very large sunfly sunglasses and a very thick jacket. It must have been either freezing cold in the middle of winter in Tasmania, or I was just extremely hungover. Probably a combination of both. But yes, it has been a while. It has been a very. It seems like a long time, but. It's good to be back on the show, and I'm just trying to think when the last time we did spoke. I think it was...
I'd have to say 2015.
I think you had some sort of a 500th show
Possibly, yeah. Maybe you would have been in one of our anniversary shows, or I'm just trying to recall if we would have gotten you on for our last show back in 2015 for the Brink. But, I mean, it would have been around then, I would say.
That's right.
About 2.5 years there, Adam. So, look, want to catch us up on 2.5 years of your life?
Finally realigned our schedules.
Well, I mean, what's been happening in the world of Adam Cousens in the last 2.5 years? You can dot point it if you want.
Since we've last spoke, I've just been constantly touring.
Mm-hmm.
Going from Tasmania up to Queensland, and as far as Phu Quoc, which is a small island off the south coast of Vietnam.
Right.
Playing.
Fantastic. Quoc. That's is that not a type of animal? That's a quoll. I'm thinking of a different animal completely there.
That's a quoll.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Different letter.
Yeah, Phu Quoc is it's a little island.
Okay.
And beautiful tropical, warm, fantastic. To tell you the truth, most of the time I was there, I was smoking cigars and drinking pina coladas on the beach, but apart from the occasional...
What a hard life you lead.
It was... Yeah, it was really tough.
Wow. So what brings you to Quoc? Like, out of all the places in the world, I mean, I know kind of throughout the years and you and I have talked, you've obviously travelled to many unique locations, but how does the opportunity come to go to Quoc?
Well, I just love Asia. I'm living in Australasia, I just love getting out into those more remote countries that are in the Asia-Pacific areas, and definitely the tropical islands. They're in the, just plucked in the middle of the ocean somewhere. But yeah, let me tell you about Phu Quoc. Those scooters, they're a lot of fun. Just don't forget you're in a country where you're driving on the opposite side of the road and pull out in front of a truck, which I did on at least 3 occasions, just pulling out and thinking, oh yeah, here we go, and then whoa, the traffic's coming straight at me.
Wow. Yeah, I've been to Malaysia, and I've seen kind of how they drive there, and I've heard many stories about other sort of Asian countries, how they drive in those sort of situations. But the one thing I will say, though, is that whilst it looks crazy how they drive, they make it work, do they not? Like, it's almost a symmetry to it. Like, it looks crazy, like they're always going to have accidents. But at least from my time there, I never saw one accident, and it was almost like a beautiful poetry watching all these people dodge each other. I was like, how the crap are they doing that? But they're doing it.
It's just, I think the trick is, the speed, where I was, the speed limit was 40 kilometres an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if everybody's travelling at 40 kilometres an hour, it's very easy to weave and duck in between everywhere.
True.
But of course, in an hour or so, you start getting pretty darn cocky, and you start doing, 50, 60, 70k an hour down an open stretch of highway where there's seemingly nothing until suddenly a cow walks out in front of you, and
on the wrong side of the street too.
The cow at 60k an hour, there's a lot at stake, literally.
Yes, all of a sudden things take a different turn. Yes, for sure. How do the people of Quoc take to your music? I mean, do they like? Is that sort of a similar type of music than they've heard before, or is it kind of new to their ears when they're hearing your music?
Well, it depends how remote you go. If you go to really remote places, where they don't have the internet or TV or things like that. It's a real novelty and a real, they're absolutely honoured that you'd come out there and do and play for them and especially bring your instrument that far. And but most places now do have reception and TV towers and radio station towers and all that kind of stuff. So it's all commercial music, and the whole idea of of globalization is that everything's becoming more and more the same everywhere. So, but it's sort of it's just the same as pop music in Australia, except everything's sung in Thai or Vietnamese. So.
Wow.
Which is a bit disappointing, but, it is also, a really great cultural experience.
Does that mean then you have to learn some Thai and Vietnamese songs to try and fit in with the culture there? Or maybe that can be worked onto your new album, having experienced all that culture? Like, hey, I could try and include this in my new material.
Look, I just try and work on, trying to say hello or I'm sorry or can I please have a beer?
The three most important things.
They're the main.
Yes.
The main things, yeah.
I was in Mexico last year and kind of, the ignorant Aussie that I am kind of went into it thinking like, where I'll go, they'll speak English. I don't need to learn Spanish. And, promptly found out that was a bit of a mistake. So I quickly just said, see a lot, gracias, and no español. That was basically all I would say for 5 days when I was there.
And where's the cocaine?
Yeah. Yes, please don't behead me. But no, it was it was an experience. And that's a great thing, obviously, about traveling, is you kind of get to experience these new places and cultures and that. And I can imagine, like, as a musician, as you were saying there, bringing that to people who might not necessarily know that style of music. Are you doing sort of over those couple of years too, traveling Australia as well? I remember one time you were telling me a great story about how I think you spent some time in sort of a remote Aboriginal community. Is that kind of something that you still are going out there doing in different parts of Australia, or you've done in the last couple of years?
Well, I spent a little bit of time in a remote Aboriginal community, just about 24 hours northwest of Cairns, on the west coast of Cape York, so on the spike on the top there. So Cape York's massive. So, I mean, you know how long it takes to get to Cairns from Melbourne, so then think about another 24 hours full driving above that.
Wow.
And that's only halfway up Cape York. So, very, very remote place. Basically, it is basically like being in a different country up there, and every different community has its own religion, laws, art, language. I know in the particular community I was staying in, English was the fifth language.
Wow.
So there were 5 tribes.
Wow. Each
with their own tribe, and then a common language which they used, which was called Wik-Munkin. And that was, so English was the 5th language. So it was basically like being dropped into the middle of a completely different country and completely different time as well. I remember walking up the main street and seeing a man standing in the middle of the road in the red dust, and he was standing in that sort of classic Aboriginal stance, with the one leg sort of cocked up, standing, with it on the side of your leg.
Yep.
You know how they stand? Yeah, and in the other hand, he was holding a spear in his hand.
Wow.
And he just had a small pair of shorts on. He was holding a spear, and I was walking towards him, and I was sort of a little bit, what's going to happen here? I'm feeling a little bit worried, but he looked calm and everything, and I walked up to him, and spear making in their culture is actually one of their artistic forms of expression. So he was showing me this beautiful handcrafted spear, and it had feathers all around the edges of it, and it was very, very intricate detail. And he was asking me if I wanted to buy the spear, and I said I'd love to buy the spear, but I just know I wouldn't get it through Melbourne Customs once I got back to the airport and then through Tassie. Probably not going to happen. So, but yeah, just like stepping back in time, absolutely incredible place.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I've been all around. I get around a fair bit, so lots of different things. But I think what was I going to say? The last thing I was doing, I actually got a bit sick at one stage.
Oh no.
last year. Yeah, I got. I just couldn't seem to get better. I had like just this constant cold, and my doctor thought maybe I had pneumonia or something. And I said, well, we'll just take an X-ray of your lungs, and we'll see. We'll see if there's a liquid on your lungs, and then if there is, we can give you, some kind of steroid, which just, dries it up, and then you get better straight away. I was like, okay, let's do that. So he took an X-ray of my lungs, and he's staring at my rib cage X-ray, and he said, yep, we got a little bit of liquid there, so we'll give you this, and then you'll be better in a week or so. And then he's still staring at the picture, and he's staring harder and harder. I'm like, what are you staring at? And he said to me, about 10 years ago, did you jump off something, say, about 12 metres high and land on your feet? And I was like, yeah, I used to do parkour. I used to jump off things all the time and land on my feet. And he said, oh, yeah, well, you fractured your spine about 12 years ago.
Oh, wow. Far out. And he could tell the time. He could actually tell how long it had been.
Yeah, you could actually see the time length. The three of your vertebrae are slightly shorter than they're meant to be, and it's a stable fracture. They've refused themselves back together. And do you ever get a sore back? And I was like, no, I don't. I said, okay, that's great.
Wow.
Let's move on.
So can they fix that, or is he just like, as you said, like move on? It's fine.
Yeah, it just fixes itself because it's refuses itself back together.
Wow.
So it's sort of like, I don't know, like fracturing a glass, getting all cracks through the glass and then melting it again and then re-melts back together.
Well, there you go.
Basically, your bone just grows around through the cracks. Yeah.
That's incredible. I did not know that. We're learning a lot here today, Adam. That's why we get you back on the shows to be educated and informed. One thing I'll say, though, since we've spoken, that and you did mention to me a little bit about this off air, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about this, about getting some of your work to maybe be used on things like TV shows and movies. And I was watching Tomorrow When the War Began on ABC when that was on about a year or so ago, and I heard one of my favourite songs, Shotgun, being played on it. So first of all, congratulations. That really made me excited watching that. But how does this work? How do you go out there and try and get some of your music on these shows? I mean, how does that process actually work?
Well, Ben, I tell you, it's really, as I might have said before, it's just like, just got to work really, really hard and keep your integrity. I think that's the main thing. But also, you've got to get your tunes out there in a lot of different directions. Not just like, you've got to have your fingers in a lot of pots, so to speak. So basically, the single Shotgun, it was played. Yeah, from the TV series Tomorrow When the War Began, which was originally a novel written by John Mars, and then later made into a movie and then TV series in the ABC, starring I think it was Deborah Mailman.
Yeah, she was in it.
Who starred in the Sapphires and Offspring and a million other things, and James Stewart from Home and Away, and but yeah, the actual process, like you need to get your writing, through the right channels. So through publishing houses, through licensing houses, and those people basically get gigs for your songs. So not for you, but for your actual songs.
Right.
So you might have a song and they'll go, that song's you might have a great song about cars or something. Or it mentioned driving, or you're on the road or something like that, and then if you manage to get enough sort of groundswell through the things that you're doing, and then they go, okay, yeah, we'd like to have your songs on our catalogue. Then if a TV commercial comes up for a car company, then they'll go, well, do you like this song? And they'll send that through to the car company, and then so yes, and then they'll give you $40,000 and thank you very much.
Wow.
Slam down, thank you, ma'am.
Wow.
So that's that's how it can work. Or you could have. There are many different ways to skin a cat, as I say. But that's one way that particular opportunity for me happened.
So you're aware of that then. So your I guess agent or whoever is involved in that process do they ask you permission first to say like, hey, this TV show wants to use this song, or because you've put it out there, you've kind of already given it that creative license that it might appear on a show or it might appear on an ad for dog food or something like that? It's kind of, that's the risk either way. You don't really know where it's going to end up.
No. So they need your permission.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
they can't just put it on things. Like, for example, I know one of my film clips on YouTube. My friend put it up and said, I was just watching your one of your songs on YouTube today, and it had a gambling commercial on the front of it.
Oh.
And I was like, didn't approve that.
Wow.
So went to the very lengthy my manager went to the very lengthy process of trying to get that removed,
Right.
which is actually quite complicated.
Wow, okay.
They're pretty devious, these gambling companies. So
Yes.
you definitely need to get permission from you to do anything with your music, because you never lose your copyright. Never give your copyright away if you're a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you maintain your copyright, then you own what happens. You get to say what happens with your music.
Right, okay, there you go. So, I mean, obviously we mentioned Tomorrow When the War Began, and I mean, look, I'm a huge fan of the books. I love the movie. I love the show. And I had no idea that your song was going to be in it until I heard it, and I was like, holy crap, this is fantastic. But have your songs appeared on anything else? Any other shows, any movies, commercials that are out there that people might be aware of?
Yeah, countless different things. I don't know if people will be aware of them here, but because basically some of my contractual stuff through the particular licensing house that I use is it's overseas, a lot of overseas stuff, so overseas TV commercials, TV series, and things like that. But I'm just trying to think of another recent one that doesn't spring to mind right at the moment. But lots of little things that you would have seen in Hobart. I think I had one on the. There was one for the Republic Bar.
Yes, I remember that one very well. That was a good one.
In Hobart, which was playing there for a while. I think I had one for Holden TV, Holden car TV commercial, which was in Melbourne or something like that. But yeah, lots of little things. But yeah, one of the tricks is if you can get the opening, so you know, like Two Broke Girls, you know that TV series?
Yep.
Yeah, if you can, I can't remember the name of the band who got their track on the as the opener for the show. So every time the show comes on, their track
the title credits,
but you know, the title credits, yes. So basically, you know, hitting one of those is basically hitting a gold mine. So
is that the goal then in this situation, to try and land the opening credits on a TV show?
If you can do that, yeah,
fantastic.
It's absolutely insane.
I've never thought about it that way. Because you're right. Like, you've obviously got to, they need a theme. And I know, for example, like I've been watching a lot of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver recently, and that the opening of that song is very kind of unique. And I know on one of his episodes he got the band, it was Valley Lodge, and their song Go. And like, I'd never heard of Valley Lodge before, but I mean, as soon as they're on the show, you look up and you hear the rest of the song, and you realise it's not just a title created by the network. You're like, okay, I like this song. And yeah, I can imagine it's helped them.
Right,
so, wow. So what sort of show would you want, one of your songs to open up with? A sitcom, a drama, a reality show?
I'd love one of my songs. I'd love Shotgun to be used. There's a song of mine called Shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love that to be reused for the next series of The Walking Dead.
Hey, that would work. That would work. I could see it. Yeah.
I'd love that, or something like that. I reckon it'd be really, really good experience. I mean, yeah, basically that's a make or. That is a real opportunity for a band, so that can break a band worldwide, that kind of opportunity. So we're always looking for those kinds of opportunities.
Well, look at the Rembrandts. Everyone knows the Rembrandts for I'll Be There For You, for Friends. I mean, could you name any other song by the Rembrandts? No, but I mean, they've made it for life, don't they? Because that song is obviously just so associated with Friends that they don't really need to have any other songs, I'd say.
And let's face it, the royalties that they'd get from that, plus from when it was airing to DVD, to downloads, to YouTube hits, it's insane. It's like having a hit single.
Yeah, I could definitely. And
you never have to work again.
Has that helped you though? Like, kind of with your songs appearing in what they have so far, have you noticed the traffic that brings? So, like, say for example, when Tomorrow When the War Began aired, did you all of a sudden then get an uptake on views on Shotgun and some of your other music? Did you notice a spike from that?
Yeah, definite spike in royalty returns, and on YouTube hits, and it all filters on. Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
It's and iTunes sales and things like that.
Great. Well, that's what you want, obviously.
Spotify plays.
yeah, for sure. So, I mean, outside of kind of that, obviously, I mean, that's obviously going great, though. But, I mean, are you still continuing to write and record music? I mean, is there plans for another EP, another album, or are you getting sick of people asking you that question, Adam?
No. Well, definitely. Definitely am getting sick of it. No, I've been writing a lot of new tunes and experimenting with a lot of different styles. For instance, classical Indian folk music and Asian, like traditional Asian music, and incorporating those styles into my own style of folk rock and folk pop. But I guess, I think particularly over the last couple of years, I've just been touring so much. I've been, up to 8 months a year of every year. Oh, actually, that's probably been for the last 12 years that I've been doing that. But it's easy to when you're spending so much time on the road, you're having less and less time to sit down and to write quality material, or to actually have time just to write at all. So because you're just going, from one town to the next town. So I'm sitting on probably 10 or 11 albums worth of material that I'm happy with. I'm really happy with at the moment. But instead of rushing into things in between touring, in between interviews and all that kind of stuff, I'm choosing now just to hold back, just to step back and go, what do I really want to do with this? What do I really think is the best stuff? And what do I really want to invest some quality time and money into recording and making killer film clips for? And that's what I'm passionate about at the moment. Instead of, just releasing album after album after touring, I'm more interested in just putting out a really quality single with a really quality film clip, and then seeing where that goes. And if that takes traction, then away you go again, off on tour. But if it doesn't take traction, then not even bothering to tour it. So I guess less shows, but more quality output online. Because, I mean, let's face it, even if you're touring, constantly, which I have been for over a decade now, you go back to a town, your last show there was, you might have been playing to 10,000 people. The next time you go back, half the people don't even know who you are anymore. They're forgotten, because, and that's the nature of social media, because it's all bang, 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 all the time in your face. There's no time to breathe. And, if you're not in somebody's face for an hour or so, then they forget about you. And it's much more the case when you're touring. If you're gone for a period of time, gone for a few months, you come back, you get to the venue, which might have been the most fantastic venue in town, and it's changed owners, and they're like, sorry, mate, we don't know you, no, you can't play here. So that's sort of the nature, that's the nature of the industry. So, that's changed a lot in the last 10 years.
Wow.
A lot.
Wow, there you go.
Venues are changing all the time, so it makes much more sense to actually put out your quality material online instead of just constantly touring for touring's sake,
Yeah, it's interesting how that kind of develops that with the industry, and I always kind of find that a fascinating aspect of speaking to musicians about sort of how they're getting their material out there and sort of how that's working for them, because there's obviously a lot of positives to that, but kind of I can also imagine a lot of drawbacks too. But as long as you've got that quality material out there, and that's ultimately the goal. Then is to put out quality material and entertain your fans, Adam, because that's why they listen to your music, is it not?
That is right. It's putting out. I mean, for me, it's about putting out that positive message, and a hopeful message, and putting it out there in a way, in a style of tunes that people can chill out to or dance to. And I was just thinking an old tune I wrote called "Traveling Long."
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking while you were asking me about what other songs have been on. I think there was this. It was a YouTube TV commercial for Thailand bucket tours. I think it was. And so basically, it's a company who runs tours through Thailand for backpackers, basically. And for your 25-year-old range, and they said, can we use this? Can we use this track for our little video that we've made? And at the time, I was like, yeah, no worries. I think it was actually my drummer, Sam Forsyth, who is the lead singer of the Beautiful Art of the Art of Storytelling.
Dark Matter. Yeah, I was going to chime in there, but I'd gone blank on, because I know Sam. I went to high school with Sam, and I know his band, and I just went completely blank on it too. So thanks for saving me there too, Adam.
Yeah, well, he flippantly said to me, you should, my mate who runs this company, they're interested in using the song. And I was like, oh, okay, yep. Well, we'll see how that goes and put it on there. And a few months later, there was over 100,000 hits.
Wow.
on the YouTube, and then the offset of that is that every single person that booked their tour on the website, sort of, a lot of those people used that song "Traveling Along" as their anthem for their trip.
Wow.
No, I think I think I've seen 3 or 4 videos that have been made as the soundtrack to Traveling Along, because I never made a soundtrack for Traveling Along. A film clip for Traveling Along. So I've seen at least 3 or 4 film clips of people's actual tours through Thailand that they've put together as a film clip for Traveling Along.
Fantastic! Wow.
So it's and then as a result, those people download your music, and it rolls on like that. I actually do have so much film footage from my tours in Asia to make a film clip for the old song "Traveling Along," but I fear that some of the film clips that have already been made are possibly better than the one that I was going to come up with, so I might have to rethink.
Well, I know sort of like that on one of our fan ones I did for one of my trips, kind of like I make little documentary things just out of the footage that I do when I travel. I used Shotgun on one of the credits. I think it was one of my Malaysian trips, just kind of as a closing song, because it fits so well with kind of what I was trying to put out there. So, and plus, I'm a huge fan of Shotgun. I'm a huge fan of all your music, of course, Adam. But I'll have to find the link for you and show that to you, how that kind of played into it. But that's a unique sort of thing to have with that, and that's amazing to kind of see that. So you obviously finding these creative ways to put your music out there. And I was actually having a conversation with someone the other day, Adam, and I think we were on hold, or like I was on hold for some company, and then you kind of have that generic stock guitar music, and I think I was having the conversation with somebody going, how does that music get out there? There's obviously a musician who has recorded this, and like there's probably a lot of money involved in stock music for hold lines, but not quite the same as getting your music out there on ads for traveling companies and Tomorrow When the War Began TV shows. But I'm sure there's people making lots of money from hold line music out there too. So if all else fails, Adam, you can just put your hold music to Telstra or something like that.
Well, it's funny. I know they Telstra actually was using. I've been on the phone many times to them, unfortunately. About
haven't we all?
Trying to get bills fixed, or incorrect payments or whatever. But I know there was this tune on there they had their hold music, and then I remember being in a bar actually down in Cowes, down here on Phillip Island, and or up here on Phillip Island, I should say. And hearing that same song which they had on their playlist in the pub, and I was like, they've gone from Telstra through. It's gone from hold music to they're using the whole song now in on I think it's called cafe something or other, but it's like it's one thing you do. You put your tracks onto a cafe CD or /bar CD, and then they get sent out to hundreds of different bars and cafes across Australia, and then they use them as the background music. And it's that's obviously one way that they've done that. But if you could get a track on a hold, this is all monetarily speaking, but if you get on that sort of hold music for a company like Telstra, then you're on a pretty big wicket in terms of financial returns.
Wow.
So that sort of stuff. I know it's pretty funny, but yeah,
that's crazy to think that.
Not that that's what I'm aspiring to do.
No,
but,
I don't think any musician out there says
probably
that.
wouldn't say no.
Yes, I can imagine some.
I'd say, if they could fix my data and my contract,
give me a free
maybe,
phone, free
unlimited
contract,
data for the rest of my life. I'd give them the track.
That's a good payoff, Telstra, if you're listening. That's kind of like my backup too, Adam. If all else fails for me, I'm just going to be the person that goes, "You are now number 3 in a queue. Please wait." So backup options for me in there somewhere. Stock voices for phone companies. People would hate my voice even more though, because they just hate it when you hear that, right? Like, "You are number 2," and like, "You just put me through. I want to like talk." So.
After the beep, you shall be sucked through the phone.
Well, it's so interesting to sort of catch up, Adam, and look, I'm really looking forward to kind of see how this goes out with everything else that's happening as well. And are you still coming down to Tassie? Is Tassie still a place that you visit frequently? I think we need to get you in the studio and kind of and catch up, because obviously we'd love to do this face to face, have you perform live and everything along those lines. So next time you're down here, hook me up and we'll get you in.
Tasmania will always be my home. I don't get back as much as I wish to, but yeah, Tassie's always home for me, and all my family and all my friends are there. So I get back as much as possible. Unfortunately, sometimes it's just to play and like to jump on a plane, come over, play a show, and then rush back somewhere else. But I do have plans to come and have a more elongated sabbatical. So
let us know. We definitely want to see you down here, because yes, it's been a while, Adam, and it's been a lot of fun having this chat. And look, I'm sure we won't wait another 2.5 years to get you on the show. Be it in person, be on the phone, mate. We'll do this a lot sooner. But thank you for the catch up. It's been a lot of fun, and no doubt we'll speak to you again soon here on the show.
Fantastic, Ben. It'll be great to speak to you again soon. See you later, mate. Bye.
Now is the time of the show where we get into our classic live performance. And what better classic live performance? You could say classic if you really, really want to. Probably a different thing altogether, though. If we do hear from the guy that you just heard from a few minutes ago, Mr. Adam Cousens. Now, we've played plenty of live performances that Adam has done over the years, and we've actually already played a live performance he did do of this song, Free Flowing Footsteps, but he's actually performed the song twice live on our show in the history of the Brink, and this was the time he did it all the way back in the year 2008, nearly 10 years ago this was. So that's kind of the extent of this long-running relationship between Adam and the Brink, and obviously the close friendship that he and I also have at the same time. So sit back and enjoy Adam Cousens performing Free Flowing Footsteps live on the Brink back in the year that was 2008.
Free-flowing footsteps that led back through the valley of cold, dark alleys where a picture is hanging of a familiar valley. I connect up the puddles that lead back through the valley. My home is in the valley where my free-flowing footsteps. Won't you lead me home? On my free-flowing footsteps, won't you lead me home? And there's there's a staircase winding with my footsteps softly trodden to a church bell that is howling, and a forgotten steeple on the dark, dark hillside where the crooked trees move slowly and the dry grass whispers and the stars shine so brightly and the willow bends lowly to gently kiss the flowers on the tombstone of a memory that is fading in the hour, with fingers touching faces underneath the heavy sky. And then the sun starts its hiding behind a familiar mountain. I stumble from its summit to see a picture on a signpost of a familiar valley. I connect up those puddles that lead back through the alleys. My home is in that valley on my free-flowing footsteps. Won't you lead me home? On my free-flowing footsteps, won't you lead me home? Yeah, 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 yeah. Touching faces underneath the heavy sky. Won't you lead me home?
Time of the episode where we hear about farm animals and New Zealand, which kind of is the same thing. Nicholas Chester, welcome back to the Brink.
It's good to be back for my my regular dose of you giving me a hard time.
Yeah, you really missed this over those 7 weeks, didn't you? I mean, you just had to talk to New Zealanders and not to Australians, so, you know, that must have been hard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. Now, look, there's something big actually happened during the week. I think we talked about this last week, saying that, you know, something big needs to happen, and something sort of big happened because your former Prime Minister, the ever popular Mr. John Key, for some reason, over here, we decided to give him an award. We gave him the highest honour that you can give somebody not from Australia, and it was given the Companion in the Order of Australia at Government House during the week. Nick, what the fuck? Why are we giving this to John Key?
Well, you probably need to ask your Prime Minister that, because I really have no idea. I think probably, you know, like the old thing of like when a big politician retires, they kind of get all these awards. So, you know, John Key was made a knight in our Queen's birthday honours list, so he's now Sir John Key. So it's just one of those things that happens, isn't it? You know, if you've been Prime Minister for 8 years or whatever, you tend to get all these awards when you leave. It's just something they do, and I'm not entirely sure what the benefit is to either of our countries, but, you know, I'm sure there's something there.
So that's a side question in itself. So New Zealanders can still get knighted? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, so our last government got rid of it, and then John Key's government actually brought it back, which is ironic because now he's the one who's now kind of benefited from that because he's now Sir John Key. So yeah, no, it's definitely still a thing over here.
Yeah, we had not had it for years. Like I think what's his name? Gough Whitlam got rid of it in like the 70s. and then out of nowhere, Tony Abbott, about whenever he was in control, just randomly brought it back. And it was, I think a lot of people say that was the beginning of the end for Tony Abbott, because so many people were against it. And the first thing that he did was he basically recommended Prince Philip to be knighted. And it's like, well, how the fuck does that work? Does, like, his wife roll over in bed and go, "Hey, Philip, you're knighted, now fuck off." Like, I mean, it was just ridiculous. And I think, like, about 3 people in Australia got knighted, and then they got rid of it after Tony Abbott went. So I didn't realise that was still a thing in New Zealand. Is it a popular thing in New Zealand, or is it something that no one gives a shit about?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like, it happens occasionally, and yeah, I mean, I actually knew somebody who was who got made a dame this year, so it was kind of interesting to me this year. But normally, I don't really pay much attention to it, to be honest.
Wow, there you go. And I know, like, England still obviously do it because that's where it kind of originated. But, like, I think the funny thing that I noticed with, like, England is that how they knight people so quickly, do they not? Like, was it Chris Hoy or one of the ones who did really well at, like, the Olympics, just randomly got knighted because they're like, "Oh, fuck, we haven't done well in anything recently, you're knighted."
We're always making our sports people sirs, so it's like Graham Henry, who coached the All Blacks when they won the World Cup, he's now a sir, and we're always trying to give one to Richie McCaw, but he keeps saying no, I think.
Wow. I was about to say, does that happen? But I mean, back to our dear friend John Key. I'm just reading here that our Governor General, Peter Cosgrove, I believe he's Sir Peter Cosgrove, I think he was one of the first people that got knighted, he says, "You are a most admirable New Zealander, a great leader, a great friend of Australia, and a worthy recipient of this honour." I love the way he leads off with, "You are a most admirable New Zealander." Like, I mean, that kind of sounds like an insult to me, does it not? Like, "Oh, you're a pretty admirable New Zealander."
You're a most admirable New Zealander. It makes them sound like a ship or something, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Majesty the Admiral. Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who recommended Sir John for the top gong, had a front row seat among dozens of dignitaries. It doesn't say like hundreds of
dozens. Literally dozens. Yeah.
12 people were there.
Yeah.
This is actually, the more I read this article, I kind of feel this was actually taking the piss out of this, because this is an Australian article I'm reading, and it literally says, had a front row seat among dozen dignitaries at the ceremony, which was over in less than 5 minutes.
Oh.
Wow, typical Australian media. Even like this big honour for a New Zealander, we're basically like, yeah, it was boring, it was done.
And so John Key's wife was there, eh? So she's probably used to things being over in 5 minutes. So, yeah.
Good call. It's got here, so it continues on. So John was given the nod for helping drive economic growth in Australia and New Zealand and his leadership in tackling international security challenges. Sir John told Sky News he was stunned by the honour. "I was stunned and shocked like everyone else," he said. "I think it reflects actually not my personal contribution, but the closest of Australia and New Zealand. From New Zealand's point of view, I've always thought of Australia as our closest dear friend." And I can assure you after that interview finished, they were like, "Yeah, now fuck off back to New Zealand, mate."
Actually, like, I mean, how many years have you been giving me a hard time about my accent? And I've only just realised that you actually do a pretty nailed-on John Key impression. You just don't realise you're doing it.
Oh, look, when you hang around with you guys a few times a week, it kind of rubs off. That was actually fun. When I was in America and I would do an American accent, people were like, "Wow, you can do a really good American accent." I'm like, yeah, you do realise that the American accent is the easiest accent in the world to do, right? Like, it's, it's not that hard. But, I mean, did this make news in New Zealand? Was this like, "Oh, breaking news! A New Zealander got an honour in Australia!" Like,
of course it was, and that's probably why you did it, was just to see how much you could drive news on some, made up some bullshit award and gave it to our ex-Prime Minister just to see if it could make the, the leading story in the news. And of course it did. Of course it did.
Wow, that is so much. I mean, I really doubt. Like, I mean, does New Zealand have kind of like the other side of things? Did Tony Abbott get that phone call? No, of course he didn't. But I mean, like, will Malcolm Turnbull get that phone call?
Does Tony Abbott even know how to pick up a phone?
Yeah, he's just like, yes.
Oh my god! I've literally here because I want to. You mentioned about we talked about the America's Cup last week. About how they've decided where it's going to be. Is that kind of what you were alluding to? I mean, is it just not going to be in Auckland? I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah. So so they've announced it's going to be the early 2021. So if you want to come and stand in Auckland Harbour and watch a whole bunch of boats that are miles away, that's the time to do it. But I think they've kind of made some announcement too that. I don't know how this sport works. It's a complete confusion to me. But I think they're going to insist on basically like you have to make the boat in the country from the where it's from,
right?
And you also have to the guys who are sailing the boat, the sailors, they have to be from that country as well. Because I think it's one of those things that's like. It was Team New Zealand versus America, but it was actually an Aussie that was, at the helm of the American boat, and that's the kind of thing that pisses New Zealanders off, apparently. So they're going to try and make it more into like it actually will be a country versus country type thing again.
Okay, interesting. I was going to say, Hamilton could host it, right? Because, didn't Switzerland win the America's Cup like a few years ago, a landlocked country? So why can't a landlocked city in New Zealand host the America's Cup?
Yeah, we could just race boats down the Waikato River.
Yeah, for sure. Why not? The sport of sailing is ridiculous. No offense to our sailors. You're too rich to be listening to a podcast. You're off doing things with money because this is free. So, you would, whatever. But, I know during our coverage on Off the Podium, download now via iTunes, we would often rip shit into sailing, that it's not the most friendly spectator sport, I would feel. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll be eagerly, lining up online to get my 2021 tickets to the America's Cup.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that we just love it because we tend to win it, which is the same. That's not a Kiwi thing. That everybody loves to follow a winner, don't they? So, of course, we love the Team New Zealand guys because they win.
Yeah, for sure. Just quickly here, Nick. I've typed in New Zealand to Google News, and I just want to go through some of these fantastic headlines. Notorious New Zealand gangs plan fight club to relieve tensions.
There's no way that could end badly, eh?
No, not at all. Original Gustav Holst scores discovered in New Zealand Library. New Zealand's welfare system is no longer a functioning system. That's a bit of a shame. Where have we got here? Snow, rain, rough seas set to strike New Zealand again.
Yeah.
My favourite one here. Huge increase in steroid use in New Zealand.
Damn, they're on to me.
They are. And 7 steps to save New Zealand by 2020. Well, here we go. What's going on here? What's happening in New Zealand, Nick? Where are you going?
I didn't know we needed saving, but apparently.
Well, this is an article according to stuff.co.nz saying here New Zealand is frequently listed as one of the best places in the world to live. These surveys tend to give Kiwis warm fuzzies. And I agree that we're incredibly lucky. But it's not all rosy. In some respects, our country needs to get its head out of the sand. New Zealand has growing issues with child poverty, the environment, immigration, the cost of living. We need to push for accountability. So basically, this is the top 7 reasons, ways to save New Zealand, according to Ryan McCone of stuff.co.nz. Here you go, Nick. Get working on these. The number one reason, the number one way to save New Zealand is to promote investigative journalism. What? Apparently. Number 2 is demand more from the Commerce Commission. What's wrong with the Commerce Commission, Nick? What do they do wrong?
Jesus, this person needs to get out a little bit, I think. It's probably all very, very true things, but yeah, it's not something that most of us give a shit about, let's be honest. This
person says the Commerce Commission needs to grow more of a spine. I accept that New Zealand is a price taker, not maker on the world stage. This doesn't excuse the sky-high costs of fresh fruit and vegetables, meat and dairy and petrol and power. Jesus. Number 3 is temporarily introduce a tough stance on immigration. Wow, this guy's a bit of a racist, is he? I don't know.
Moving right along.
He's the Donald Trump of New Zealand. Our councils need to introduce accountability for the completion of basic infrastructure works. You work for a council, Nick. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, just we'll move right along from that one too, yeah.
Number 5 is overhaul our environmental standards. Number 6, start resourcing lower decile schools and better initiatives. And number 7, eliminate P from our society.
What? What, like urine? What?
No, that's what we call ice.
Oh.
What you would call ice. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there you go. Why is it called pee?
I think the main drug that they use starts with the letter P. I think. I mean, I'm not a pea smoker, so I don't know enough about this.
That is the
I'm not
weirdest.
Walter White.
Because I just can't imagine like the cops going down like, I don't know, Main Street, Auckland or whatever. Like, oh, bro, we're gonna stop all this pee. There's peas everywhere. Look at all those users over there. They've got pee all over them. Like, I mean, it doesn't like. I'm sorry, I sound so much better.
Yeah, when we get our dogs to come and sniff for pee, yeah, it's not a good look.
He was covered in pee, bro. Nick, I always learn so much about New Zealand each week. Any other New Zealanders you want to send over here for us to, give an award to? No, notice how we don't claim John Key's one of our own. He's not one of these ones that we've stolen, like Russell Crowe or the Pavlova. We're glad to send him back to you guys afterwards.
Yeah, I think he's still hanging around running one of our airlines now. So I think we're stuck with him for the meantime.
Yes. Nick, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much, and we will speak to you next week.
Yep, I'll try to make some good news for you, and then not make some good news, find some good news for you.
Good. Once again, I'm going to press a button, and you're going to hear some music.
This is like a flashback. This is like a dream.
And we're going to flash some things back. And another bit of a special way of doing this, of course, you've heard in the last few weeks we went all the way back to the year 2007 to celebrate our 10 years anniversary of being on Breakfast Radio. And we thought we'd kind of keep a trend and kind of maybe go through the years that we've been on air, and at least bring you those classic moments. So we thought now, after 2007, it generally makes sense to go to 2008. And, of course, as you know, we kind of do a bit of a best-of CD at the end of the year, so I thought you'd bring you a couple of tracks from that this week, including the introduction that we went with on that CD that year, and kind of just a random introduction from one of our shows in 2008. Let's hear that.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird.
From Hobart, the greatest city in the world, comes the most Brinkaliciously Brinkin' 3 hours of your week. If you want excitement, thrills, and melt-in-your-mouth hotness, then don't touch that dial, as we bring you all the thrills and spills that is the world's greatest radio show. So strap yourself in, take the phone off the hook, pull the car over, and make yourself a coffee, as you chillax with radio's hottest stars. It's The Brink, on Edge Radio 99.3 FM. Over to the studio.
Fridays have always been the best week here on the Brink, and today is no exception as we tune in here at 7:13 for another 3 fat Brinkalicious hours of hot entertainment here on Edge Radio 99.3 FM with my good self Ben. And for the first time in a while, I have to say it's good to actually have some human company in the studio, and none other than a very old friend of ours who is returning to the Brink family for the first time in, what would you say, about 2.5 years, didn't you say, Josh?
Yeah, about 2.5 years, Ben.
2.5 years. That's how quickly time flies when you have fun. Josh, welcome to the Brink. Welcome back to Edge Radio. Big honour to have you on board.
Thanks, Ben. It's a great honour to be working with the great Ben Waterworth once again.
What can I say? I can't even think of a comeback for that one because it's just so true. It's not funny.
What have we done now, Ben? We've done radio, we've done movies, we've done the Olympics.
The only thing we haven't done is walked on water, as far as I believe, or turned water into wine. I mean, it's still possible. We've got plenty of time.
Well,
we can do it today.
There's tomorrow.
There's
seriously.
next week. There's 2 hours and 45 minutes of today left. And speaking of those 2 hours and 45 minutes, we have new segments galore today, Josh. We thought it was a special treat for you. We'll introduce new segments which get people excited, get people on their feet, and get people wanting to get involved, as well as a hot prize and everything else under the sun today.
Now, one of the segments, of course, that you would have heard from recently from 2007 was one called Ask Anthony. When he left the show, we rebadged it and called it Ask the Brink, because people of Hobart still had questions that they wanted to send us in. So let's hear the best bits of Ask the Brink from the year 2008.
I need somebody.
the Brink.
Not just anybody.
Yes, Ask the Brink, where you ask us questions and we strive to answer them. And Josh will be over to you right now.
Rightio, Ben. Well, we have a question from Noel from South Arm. Good. Now, Noel's 26 and he's asked what is the problem with the world today and how he can fix it, or how we can fix it, or how anyone can fix it.
An interesting question, Josh. Very open-ended, philosophical question.
Well, here's my philosophy.
Go for it, Josh.
If you can't fix it with gaffer tape, you can't fix it at all.
Good philosophy, Josh. I think gaffer is the way to go with anything. And,
It is.
no matter what the problem is, gaffer can fix it.
It can.
Think about it. You break your leg. What are you going to do? Go to a doctor or get the gaff? I'll go for the gaff because it saves you some medical bills.
Well, the only problem with that would be you'd have no hair on your legs when you have to take it off 6 weeks later.
You've waxed your legs at the same time.
There we go.
Killed two birds in one stone, Josh. It's 2008. Men are out. Or it could be a lady's broken her legs. We're not saying it's necessarily a man who's broken the legs. But I mean, if you're a lady and you've broken your leg and you got the gaff, then you've saved yourself waxing your legs.
That's exactly right. Now, gaffer tape will fix it. All we have to do is just find where the place to put the gaff on the world is, and done.
Exactly.
Fixed.
Think what's another problem that you could have? You got a toothache. You got something wrong with your tooth. Rip the tooth out. Put some gaff there.
That's
Easy. You've had a car crash. You've wrecked your car. Fix it with gaff.
Your heat's come off. Gaffer it back on.
Exactly. A war breaks out somewhere in the world. Gaffer the buildings back up with gaffer.
That's it.
Easy. Whoever invented gaffer tape, to me, deserves to be the president of the world. Absolutely. Foot down, Josh. Gaffer man is president.
Gaffer man.
Gaffer man. We're going to call him Mr. Gaffer. We should find out. We should find out who invented the gaffer tape.
Yes. I think we should ask a little Kevin 07 or Johnny Howard later on. They might know.
We should actually send in a question to ask the Brink saying who invented the gaffer tape. So, Noel, 26 of South Arm, thanks for your question. We've just completely got sidetracked and started talking about the gaff.
And she asks me why. She asked me why. She asked...
Get it out, Josh. Come on, speak.
Why don't I shoot Ben sometimes, as she thinks he can be a raw pain in the behind?
Thank you, Amber. I'd take that as a compliment. Why don't you shoot me, Josh?
Because... Amber, I have to say this. If you read my bio, Josh, am I really there?
What?
I don't know. If you read the bio on the website, you'll find out that me and Ben have been friends for years.
It doesn't really answer the question, though.
No, I'm answering.
All right, sorry, I'm sorry.
And
I'll stand over here then.
Being a religious person, being as it's a major subject of this week's show, I am a religious person, and I don't...
Boring.
Shut up. And I don't see the joy in shooting a friend of mine. Now, if I didn't know
Boring.
Ben... Sure, sharp. I'm going to shoot you in a minute.
Boring.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, he's pulled out his finger gun.
Yeah, this is my name.
Look, Amber, can I just mention something to you? First of all, thank you for calling me a royal pain in the bum. I take these compliments on board, and I do appreciate your feedback. Secondly, shooting is illegal. I do believe that is a criminal offence, and Josh would go to jail for it.
And he's a human being, so show him some respect. Ask the best way to tie his shoes and how he can do it without using his hands. Well, the best thing for me, I find, is I actually wear shoes without laces, as you can...
That's handy.
I know.
That's very handy. I really think that there should be more shoes out there made without laces.
See, these are my shoes, Ben.
How do you keep them tight, though?
Because I've got big feet. And you know what they say about guys with big feet?
They need big shoes without laces.
That's exactly right.
Mitchell, that's a very interesting point. Mind you, if you don't want to tie your shoes, if you don't want to wear...
You could be like Chucky off Rugrats.
And what? Just never tie your shoes in general?
Yeah.
Well, that's something else. You could just trip over all the time, Mitchell. Or you could just maybe use your mouth or get lots of people to do it for you.
That's it.
That's always a handy. That's my motto in life. If it can be done by someone else, get them to do it.
If not, gaffer tape.
Gaffer fixes everything. All the world's problems can be fixed with gaffer tape.
As we say in the theatre, if he can't fix it with gaffer, it's not worth fixing.
Global economic crisis, gaffer tape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We should take that
Problem
to the
solved.
Q-Pack.
Exactly. We should go to Washington with the K-Road.
K to the R-U double whistle.
You looked a bit shocked there, Josh.
I was like... That's an idea!
He also would have remembered we did have our regular guest of former Prime Minister John Howard on the show. And of course, in 2008, he was no longer the Prime Minister. He had been removed by a certain Kevin Rudd. But for some reason, he decided to return to the show in 2008. So let's hear from Mr. John Howard in The Return of John Howard.
Wait, what's that? What's that noise? Uh-oh.
I heard this last week, didn't I, Ben?
I don't like the sound of this.
Here's Johnny!
Hello, everybody, I'm back! Oh, no, John Howard. Why isn't the audience cheering for me? They always cheer for me. Oh, there they go. I thought I'd join you boys again.
Did you invite him on here, Ben?
Oh, look, I have to say I might have. I was a bit sneaky there. I hope you don't mind, Kevin. No, he doesn't mind. Ben, what are you talking about? Mr. Kevin and I are good friends. High five, Kevin. High five. Come on. Come on,
I'm
put it
sorry,
up there.
John, don't touch me.
Oh, well, come on, Johnny. Kevin, what's your name? Oh, that's it. Mr. Howard, just while I've got you on the microphone here, I suppose you can say, you are the only current living Prime Minister who didn't attend the ceremony on Wednesday. Why is that? Oh, Ben, I don't think we should get into that right now. We don't talk about serious stuff here on the Brink. We like to have a bit of a laugh. I was too busy. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. Okay, Mr. Howard. Mr. Rudd, what are the plans for next week? What's happening? Oh, he's going to do nothing because he's going to be playing his stupid games. Mr. Howard, please let Kevin answer the question.
I'm going to be just touring the country, making sure everything's going right as rain.
Right as rain.
Right as rain.
We don't really have much rain at the moment, so how can that be going right?
Oh, trust me, I'll fix that.
I'll get stuck, Kevin. You will not. You
Excuse me, John. I do not like the way that you talk to me. Show some respect to the leader of this country.
I'm older than you. Respect your elders, please, Kevin. You know.
I don't respect anyone that has no respect.
Oh, well, that's a good comeback. I know you are, but what am I? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
No, but my security parties can kill you. I'd be careful.
Bring it on. They know me. How's it going, George? How's it going, Sam? Yeah, they were with me for 11 years. Okay, you two. I think we need to separate you. Josh, any further questions for either of these two?
John, what is with you today?
Oh, what do you want, Joe? What's your name, Josh? I don't even know who you are. Where's that A word? He was an idiot, but I liked him still.
Okay,
I need to listen to me pod. It's like, okay, Mr. Howard, I think we should leave him alone. And Mr. Rudd, thank you for appearing again.
That's okay.
We should have you back next week, no doubt.
Oh, that would be great.
Get stuck, Johnny. Well, that's my name. Oh, whoops. Kevin, that's your name. My laugh has changed too, Ben. Yes, John. Thank you, Mr. Howard and Mr. Rudd.
That's
Josh,
okay.
That was interesting, wasn't it?
It is. Why did you do that to me, Ben?
Why are you still speaking why do you sound like Kevin Rudd?
Why do you sound like John?
I don't. It's not me. It's
Neither do I.
I can't impersonate either of them. Look,
Me neither.
I'm John Howard, and let me do Kevin Rudd. Oh, I'm Kevin Rudd. See, I can't do it.
I'm Kevin Rudd.
Exactly. You try to do John Howard. Hey, you should do it the impersonations of John Howard. Ben.
We'll be playing some more classic moments from the year 2008 in the coming weeks. Get excited. Get Brinkin' excited. That's more like it. So last week on the show, you might remember we kind of got scammed slightly by one of these telemarketer scammers that call up pretending to be the Australian Tax Office, and we played a bit of a clip of me trying to deal with one of them, and I played with them a little bit, kind of made up a name, just kind of, trolled them slightly. But I thought this week we could try it again, but this time let's be honest, let's be absolutely truthful in saying who I am and see how far we can get with the call. So let's hear how I went with that during the week.
Hello?
Hello, is this the Australian Taxation Office?
Yes, it is.
Well, I'm just returning a call you guys left to call you guys back. I had a message saying that I have legal options against my name or something along those lines.
So can you provide me your phone number at which you received the call?
My phone number is 05.
Zero.
5.
Mr. Pan.
Yeah,
Waterworks.
that's correct. That's me.
Yes, that's me. Can you let me know what's going on with that message, please? Hello?
Okay, Mr. Walworth. Okay. The reason behind this call is to notify you that there's a federal tax lien and a warrant of custody filed against your name by the ATO.
Right.
So do you have a lawyer who can represent you inside the courthouse?
I'm sorry, I have legal proceedings? What legal proceedings are these? Can you tell me what they are, please?
So you don't have any idea about the lawsuit? Like, what is this all about and what's going on?
Absolutely none, sir. As I said, I just got this message from you guys saying that I have this. This is the first I've heard about this. So, I mean, what are these legal proceedings? Sorry?
Okay, do you work at Fox Sports Australia?
Absolutely, that's exactly where I work, yes. You know, the funniest thing about that is that there's actually another Ben Waterworth who works at Fox Sports. This is too funny. Now, obviously, that kind of didn't go to plan. They thought I was a different Ben Waterworth, and then before you know it, they hung up on me. So, after probably the next 15 or so minutes trying to call them back without any answer, I tried on a different number, and this is what happened this time around.
Office, how can I help you?
Yes, hi, I've been trying to call you guys for the last 5 minutes and I keep getting disconnected or you keep hanging up on me. I'm trying to find out what's going on with this apparent legal action that's going against my name and I just can't seem to get a straight answer, so I'm hoping you can help me.
1 second, I'm talking to Mr. Michael, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Michael, this is Officer Michael Brown, badge ID 605432. The reason behind this call is to notify you that there is a federal tax lien and a warrant of custody filed against your name.
What for? Can you tell me exactly what for, exactly?
There are serious allegations under your name that you have done a tax fraud.
Okay, tax fraud relating to what?
The taxes which you filed in the year of 2014, 15 and 16 were not correct.
Oh.
Many mathematical and numerical errors in your taxes which shows you're trying to defraud the government, you're trying to run away with the government's money.
Oh shit, I didn't think they'd catch me. That's a bit unfortunate. Oh god, okay. Well, how much do I owe then? Can you tell me then?
$3,788.35.
Wow, oh gee, goodness. Wow, I should have really carried that too, eh? Alright, well how can I fix this? I obviously don't want to get sued. I mean, that's a bit extreme. Can I pay that money to you, or can I pay that money to somebody so I can fix this?
You need to pay this amount by using a tax pay voucher to rectify the situation at this point of time.
Okay, sure. I think I can do that. I did win a bit of money on the pokies last. I mean, can you give me some details about how I can transfer that money then, please?
Do you have any government authorized store nearby you named Woolworth?
Yes, I do.
How far is Woolworths from you?
At least a 5-minute drive. That's not that far from me. I can go there pretty soon if I need to.
Okay, if you want to rectify the situation at this point of time, then you need to go to Woolworths store and buy a tax pay voucher. Because you know that this is a recorded line and we are not authorized to take any money from you by using a debit card, credit card, no bank, no check, no cash. You need to pay this amount by using a tax pay voucher.
Okay, so I can't pay this over the phone? You're the tax department, right? Why can't I just give you my credit card details or something? I mean, I'd rather just do that now if I can do that with you.
I'm sorry, but we are not authorized to take any credit card information, debit card information.
Oh, so you're authorized to tell me that I owe $3,000, but I can't give... okay, that's a bit weird, but sure. Okay, so I need to go to Woolworths and buy a card? Is that what I need to do?
A tax pay voucher.
A tax pay voucher. So I just go up to the counter and ask for that, do I? Is that all I need to do?
Once you reach Woolworths, let me know so that I can provide the name of the card which you need to purchase.
Oh, so I need to call you back once I get to Woolworths, or do I just take you with me now? I mean, what do I do there?
If you are able to stay online with me, that's not an issue. You can stay online with me. And once you reach the parking lot of Woolworths, you can let me know.
Okay, sure. I'll stay on the line. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Alright, I'm at Woolworths, so what do I do now?
You are at Woolworth?
Absolutely. I'm already here. I'm a quick driver.
Oh, like, for real?
I'm 100% real, mate. Why would I lie about that? Wow. So apparently you've got to go to Woolworths, and apparently they don't believe you that you can go to Woolworths in about 5 seconds. So I essentially tried calling back for the next 15-20 minutes, but kind of gave up because I think they kind of cottoned on to me a little bit there that I was not exactly believing their story and probably blocking these numbers too. So there you go, folks. If you're at home and you want to play along with that, that's kind of how you can handle it. And I will give you the number too if you want to ring them up and troll them yourself. The number that you can call them on is 02617 60881. That is 02617 60881. So give them a call, have some fun with them. That's how you can have a bit of fun with one of the telemarketer scammers. That time of the episode to get a little bit presidential with everybody's favourite president. It's Paul Luttrell. Paul, I don't know if you've ever been a president of anything, but welcome back to the show.
I can't remember being a president of anything, so yeah, let's move on. Yes, good to be back.
You are the president of this segment. There you go, I've just declared you that. How does that feel?
That feels very good. I'll have to take the job seriously.
Yes.
Maybe I'm a little bit more qualified than Trump is to be president of the United States.
Yes.
Or at least there's something, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, hopefully, you'll take it a little bit more seriously than he does. But anyway, we generally talk about Mr. Trump, President Trump. And, it's been honestly a fairly quietish week, I want to say, on the Trump front. He hasn't really done anything bad this week, has he?
Yeah, not that I can think of. I think he's keeping his head down. But yeah, it's not a very... it's a pretty low bar. To be a little bit less stupid than you were in the previous week for Trump. He's pretty stupid, so to be a little bit less is it's not a big deal. One
of the big things that came out of the week, though, they've done sort of one of these approval rating polls, to see how America feels, in case you didn't know. And he has come out with the lowest approval ratings of any single US president in their first 6 months in the 70-year history of this poll. He only has an approval rating here, I can see, is it of 36%, and a disapproval rating of 56%. That is ridiculous, is it not?
Yeah. What's striking as well, I think, is what is that? That leaves 8% who are undecided. If you're undecided about Trump now, what has happened to you? Have you just been, holed up in a cabin somewhere in the woods?
I always wonder about that. I think I got once, have I ever gotten that phone call, sort of like one of those Nielsen polls, and it was a Tasmanian election one. It wasn't even an election one, it was just a Tasmanian approval rating one, probably, 3 or 4 months ago, and I got very excited, because I always see these polls in the media, and I'm like, I want to give my opinion. And I love it when they do ask that question, like, how do you feel about Premier Will Hodgman? Are you satisfied, dissatisfied, or undecided? Who's sitting there on their phone going, I really don't know, I'm undecided. It seems like a very weird sort of, it should just be a yes or a no. Are you satisfied or not?
Yeah, I think so. With Will Hodgman, maybe his things aren't as of a bigger consequence to certain people, but Trump, he's pretty polarizing. He doesn't straddle the fence on anything. He pretty much states what his opinions are. And if you don't think that building a border wall to keep out, Mexicans from America or calling Mexicans rapists, if you're undecided on whether that's a good or a bad thing, then
you're a Trump supporter.
Probably need to think a little bit more about things.
A lot of ex-Swiss nationals live in the US, apparently. They're very neutral.
Oh, yeah, but I'm pretty sure that they would they'd make up their mind on this. I think
even Switzerland on this can make their minds up on Donald Trump.
He's not the most diplomatic figure. I don't think he is kind of, you're either, I don't know how to feel about him. You've known what he's like for a very long time now. He's just dominates the news cycle. If you haven't made up your mind about Trump, then yeah, you maybe need to sit and have a little bit of time to yourself to think about things.
It's such an interesting poll. 6 months into a presidency that somebody can be that disapproved of. I mean, you know, obviously we know all the circumstances and everything around it. I mean, this is a guy who was popularly elected in terms of the system in the US. I know he didn't win the popular vote, but I mean, he still got the electoral roll votes and everything along those lines. We've gone over that before. But, I mean, with only 6 months into this job, that this many people disapprove of him. I mean, not even just on a US level. I'd really like to see if this is a record globally. And I'm not talking about, obviously, like dictatorships where, you know, 99% of people had to approve of Saddam Hussein. You know, I mean, I would honestly like to legitimately see maybe in a democratic society if there have been any other world leaders at this point who have had this much disapproval after only 6 months.
I would struggle to think of anyone. I think that generally there would be, like in Australia, whenever the approval ratings get to certain low, there's always an election called or something like that. But obviously the US system's different. I can't think of anyone, obviously, in dictatorships that they wouldn't have legitimate, polls or anything anyway. So you can't really go off of that. Yeah, it's strange considering that he won the Electoral College, and to be this low. I'm guessing that the polls obviously must have included people who didn't actually vote as well in there to have such a high differential. But that's weird to have people who wouldn't vote but would participate in a poll.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, actually, now you point that out. I didn't kind of factor that into it, because obviously here, you know, you have to vote here, whereas there, I mean, you know, who knows? I mean, 58% of that poll could have been people who didn't even vote. So, you know, or more. So it's interesting. Yeah. I know...
I'm more interested to see the number of people who actually voted for Trump, the percentage of people that actually voted for Trump who now disapprove of Trump, because that would be...
I think there's a few. There's a lot of those stories which kind of, like, you know, are like, oh, we went to rural Alabama filled with, you know, staunch Trump supporters who now are even going against him. Like, you always see those stories, don't you? Yeah,
but I think that people kind of generally stick to their guns and they'll delude themselves, however. I mean, there was so much news... There was nothing surprising about Trump. You knew that this kind of disaster was going to happen, really. So I don't know, if your mind wasn't changed about Trump before he was elected, then it's probably not going to be changed now, I guess.
No, and it's interesting looking at there's a sort of a list here of other past presidents' approval and disapproval rating. I mean, you look at Obama, and 6 months in, 59% approved, 37% disapproved. The highest one in terms of approval rating was Truman, 82% of people approved, and only is at 9% disapproved. Kennedy has on 75% approval, 12% disapproval. And you even look at Nixon, who obviously I realise didn't exactly kind of turn into Nixon a lot later on in his presidency, but 58% approved of Nixon and 22% disapproved. So, I mean, that's even kind of, if you go through the history of bad presidents in terms of their reputation, and Nixon's probably the granddaddy of that before Trump came along, you know, I mean, at least he still had more than half the country like him after 6 months.
Yeah, it's funny as well, because Kennedy, I mean, even though we think of him now as this great president, at the time he was pretty controversial with his, at least in the South he would have been anyway, with his pro-civil rights kind of stand and everything. You think that he would probably suffer a little bit in the South from his... from that kind of view. So
it's interesting too to look at kind of, I mean, you know, in our lifetime, obviously, the second Bush wasn't exactly Mr. Popular by the time he left, but I mean, I realise obviously at the beginning he was pretty high, particularly after then when 9/11 came about, but like 59% approved of George Bush Jr., 38% disapproved. His father was on 73%. Wow, I didn't realise he was that popular, at least at one point in time. But there's only 3 presidents here that I can see in this 70-year poll history that had a higher disapproval rating than their approval. It's obviously Trump, we've got Gerald Ford, and the other one here, amazingly, Bill Clinton, 51% disapproved, 45% approved, and this was years before certain liaisons with Monica Lewinsky. So I always thought, I mean, this is, again, things I'm getting educated on the
last 18 months, 2 years. I always thought the Clintons were very popular. Clearly, we're discovering that Clintons don't exactly have a huge legacy that is necessarily always popular.
Yeah, it's strange. I guess coming out of the kind of the Reagan 80s, 90s, there was a little bit of there was kind of like a mini depression kind of thing there. So maybe he suffered from that a little bit. But I would, it's strange that he is that low even before the Monica Lewinsky thing.
Yeah, it's. I was actually. I don't have the article on me now, but it was the one I read in the last week. I think it was kind of like Time magazine or some, renowned magazine had rated the presidents. And I always kind of find it interesting to read, because, I mean, look, you and I are Australian. We know the presidents we know. We don't necessarily know the entire history of all these, American presidents and their backgrounds. But, I mean, I think I'm similar to you. I find it very fascinating, the US presidential system. But there was, they ranked all the presidents from, 45 to 1 or something like that. And, Trump was already in, I think he was in, the bottom 5 or something like that. But I think number 1 from memory, was it Kennedy? It wasn't, no, it'd have to be Lincoln, wouldn't it? I can't even remember. But, I mean, I know, Kennedy and Lincoln were up there very high. Reagan was very high. There was a lot in there that I didn't realize. Even Nixon kind of, they said, he's higher than he kind of people are thinking, because before kind of things turned sour, he did do some things. So, it's kind of interesting to read those. I'd love to find one. Maybe I can quickly Google it now, rating Australian prime ministers. I don't know if that would exist.
Probably not. I don't know. It's, saying again, they probably don't have as big of an influence on, I don't know.
Well, we've had so many, haven't we? Here we go. I mean, I've sort of loosely found, this is kind of going on Nielsen polls, historical rankings of Australian prime ministers. So if we had to quickly sort this out, if I can, so these are the highest poll ratings of Australian prime ministers since 1972. So this is their highest approval rating since this poll existed. The top 9. Do you want to, how about we turn this into a slight little bit of a game? We'll maybe go from 9 to 1. I don't know how you go with this, but okay. So somebody had an approval rating of 34%. This is the lowest one in this top 9. Who do you think had the lowest approval rating according to this list I'm looking at 94%? 34%. Sorry,
34% approval rating.
Yeah.
It's tough, because I don't really have any idea of modern.
I reckon you would have heard of this Prime Minister. Of course. Yeah.
Let's go Gough Whitlam.
Oh, decent guess. I'll say William McMahon. He was apparently 34%. At number 8, a 40% approval rating. You'd guess this one. Let's just say he's a recent Prime Minister in at least the last 25 years. That probably gives you about 30 to choose from, but...
Yeah, let's 38%.
40%.
40%. Bob Hawke.
No, Paul Keating was at 40%.
Really? I thought Keating was a little bit more popular than that. Then again, Bob Hawke is probably a lot more popular than that as well.
I thought Keating was a lot more popular than that too. I think Keating's kind of like a glass of wine. He ages well, doesn't he? Like a lot of people, I think, now appreciate him more so than they did at the time. I don't know. Number 7, 47%. You've got to get this one. Yes. 47% November 2013. Our next one, 56%. Another very recent Prime Minister at 56%.
Let's go with Julia Gillard.
Correct. She actually got that in July 2010, which was, if my calculations are correct, that was right on when she took over, was it not? So, wow. Next one, also on 56%. This gentleman achieved this twice. You were thinking Whitlam before. Think of somebody around the time of Whitlam. If you know your prime ministers in historical order, of course.
I probably only know the last 30 years, really.
There's a very famous island called his last name in Queensland, if that helps. There was also a TV show sort of called this.
Oh, is it Fraser?
Yeah, Malcolm Fraser. I mean, it's Fraser, but you know where I was going with that. 62%, number 4 on this list. You've already guessed this person before, but you can put him up there again if you want.
Okay, it's got to either be Bob Hawke or Gough Whitlam?
It's one of those two. Nah.
I'll go with Gough Whitlam then.
You're correct, 62%. Our third ranked one of this one at 67%, and amazingly, okay, you'll get this one because, you know, you like me grew up with this guy pretty much our entire life as Prime Minister, but the thing that I find most fascinating about when this was achieved was this was like achieved right towards the end of his Prime Minister, only a couple of years before he was ousted. I would assume this would have been up there maybe after Port Arthur or something like that, but I mean, I just gave you a huge clue there. You're going to get this one.
John Howard, of course.
Yeah, 67% in January 2005. I would have assumed that would have been a lot earlier.
Strange. That's a big turnaround, and nothing. I mean, there wasn't. No, we didn't really have the global financial crisis until
that was like 2008. That was more Rudd than Howard. So
yeah, that's strange because nothing really massive happened in those 2 years, and he still had a 67% approval rating in 2005.
I think from memory that was only probably about 2 or 3 months after the election, was it not? And I guess we'd had all the Latham issues and what Beazley was back in opposition by then, and clearly he didn't really do much for the opposition. So. Yeah,
Rudd must have marketed himself really, really well.
Well, speaking of that man you just mentioned, coming in at number 2 on 74%, it would be
Rudd.
Yeah, 74%. That's crazy. I actually remember that at one point, it might have been when this came out. This was March 2009. I think he was like the second most popular leader in the world at that point. I think only behind the Italian Prime Minister. He was that high in the approval ratings. So interesting to think that within 15 months of that approval rating, he was no longer Prime Minister. How is that even possible?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. And at number 1, again, you already guessed this guy, 75% approval rating, according to the Nielsen poll rating since 1972. Our most popular Prime Minister is
Bob Hawke.
Yeah, there you go. 75% for Mr. Hawke. So the 80s were a good time to be alive if you liked Hawke and Reagan. You were very popular, weren't you?
It was pretty, lucrative in terms of, if you were of making money, I guess.
Yeah.
But we saw the backlash of that, didn't we?
Very much so. Just quickly, I mean, we won't milk this too long, but there's another one here for News Poll as opposed to Nielsen. So the top 7 here, this is only kind of the most recent ones. This has only been going since 1985. But 71% for Kevin Rudd is the highest. Paul Keating's the lowest at 43. That's approval rating. There's another one here that they do for News Poll, lowest satisfaction rating. So this is, I guess, how satisfied. I don't know how that works, but Paul Keating holds number 1 on that. He was 17% people were satisfied with him. Then Julia Gillard, 23%. Tony Abbott, 24%. Bob Hawke, 27%. John Howard, 28%. Malcolm Turnbull on 29%. And that's actually been achieved as recently as October last year, and Kevin Rudd 32%. That's during his second term as Prime Minister. So it's interesting to think that Paul Keating very low on a lot of those ratings, but I mean, I don't know, it doesn't generally, I feel, get something that people talk too much about him, do they? So interesting.
It's strange. It's that kind of thing where people forget the bad things about people, and you can see it in the US now. Even like George W. Bush is somehow the voice of reason when talking about Trump.
Yeah.
So same kind of thing. But Keating, very different politics to Bush, obviously.
Yeah. Very, very much so. Just before we leave, just randomly, I just wanted to quickly add this poll because I'm sure there's a lot of listeners right now. We've obviously gone over a few of the American ones there. We've touched on the Australian ones, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering who people think is the greatest Canadian Prime Minister of all time. And I can tell you that according to Maclean's 2016 survey, it was the legendary William Lyon Mackenzie King. Clearly my favourite Canadian Prime Minister there. Paul, I don't know about you.
Wayne Gretzky.
Yes, very underrated Prime Minister of Canada, I feel.
Prime Minister in everyone's hearts, I guess.
Yes. Not quite as sexy as our current Justin Trudeau, but anyway. Paul, it's been fun. This is what happens when Trump doesn't do much. We go over rankings. So perhaps that's probably a good thing. Maybe we need to do that. We'll find the ranking of New Zealand Prime Ministers next week. How about that?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm sure they're all great.
Dolly the Sheep, number 1. We'll speak to you next week, Paul. Thank you.
All right. It's been good.
It's always getting excited when I get to press this button.
It's that time of the week to play everybody's favorite game show. It's Forget the Lyrics here on the Brink on Edge Radio. Over to the studio.
Forgetting lyrics. And it was great to have Stewie on High Noon the other day doing some new ones as well. So we'll have to catch up and play some of those ones across the way. Stewie, I know you're a listener of The Brink, so it's good to have you there, and hopefully we can get you to do a few more of those in the coming weeks. But we're going back to the year 2008 again. We've seen to have a bit of a trend on this episode of that year. It was the first year we did start doing Forget the Lyrics, and this is one of my personal favourites that we've had from the history of the show, because it's kind of one of these ones that we make the lyrics up on the spot. When I actually hear the original song, I still often sing the lyrics that we made up on the spot, because Josh did some very memorable ones. This is Josh's version of the hit song by Timbaland called Apologise, very big, of course, in the year 2008, and maybe this might make you want to go to the gym. Let's hear this.
I'm holding on the menu, I've got 10 feet off the ground. And hearing what you say, no you can't have that, cause it might make you overweight. As Arnie says, you tell me that you need me, do some shape lifting, but wait. You tell me that you're sorry cause you couldn't even lift a chicken. Cause it wasn't deep fried. It's too late to exercise. I say it's too late. It's too late to exercise. It's too late. Oh no. It's too late. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I saw the people sitting in the restaurant window. They had 2 seats. Arnie looked at me and he said, what are they eating? I say, hey, it ain't my fault cause I like to eat chicken instead of lift shape. I told them that they should go for a jog around the block. But no, it's too late to exercise. It's too late. I said it's too late to exercise. It's too late to exercise.
Yeah, I still sing It's Too Late to Exercise essentially every time I hear that song. So if only it worked, if only it made me exercise, and maybe it might be a little bit better. That part of the show where we decide to cover ourselves in maple syrup and look at leaves that are on flags, because it's a time to get Canadian with everybody's favourite Canadian. It is, of course, Mr. Colin Hilding. Colin, welcome back to The Brink.
And again, I've passed Justin Trudeau. That's 2 weeks in a row.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard from him in a couple of weeks, so... just like him forgetting Alberta, I thought I'd forget your Prime Minister, so why not? But you're not alone this week. You've brought another guest along with you. I don't even feel like I should introduce this guest because, I mean, he's kind of related to you. So I want you to talk him up, give him like a big introduction.
Well, I'm not going to talk him up because sadly I had to grow up with him, and that was enough for me. But I did mention last week the Australian football fanatic here in Winnipeg, my brother Ian, and I guess he somehow was able to pull off a miracle and get Canadians interested in forming a team out of this, or a club. So he'll kind of take it from here, because I was there, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I think I'm going to need a bit of coaching.
Well, hello, Ian.
All right. Well, hello. Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, no problem. First of all, I'd like to say I'd like to challenge Colin for the title of Best Canadian.
Okay.
I think I'm way too good. So, there's that. As usual, when people talk me up, I'm sorry that I have to sadly disappoint everybody that I'm nowhere near the way I was just explained. I did very little. I did very little to get the team started, and I'd like to take credit for it, but really the credit belongs to other people who put the footwork in. Basically, what happened is I got into Australian football about a little over a year ago, just looking for a random sport to watch on TV, and I saw Australian football was on, and it satisfied my fascination with all things Australian to check it out. And I put it on and was incredibly confused. I heard whistles blowing every 5 seconds, had no clue what was going on. So basically, I said to my wife, I'm just going to watch this until I figure it out. I found I had to go to Wikipedia while watching it in order to figure out what was going on. But honestly, by the time I was done one game, I thought, okay, that was cool. I'm going to check out another game. The first game I watched was Geelong against Hawthorn. Thankfully, Hawthorn lost.
Good boy. You're learning already. I like that. That's good. Good to have that opinion already.
That's right. Then the next week I recorded. There's only 2 games they show per week on TSN here. Go to the bathroom in another room. Sorry, my daughter.
I thought you're very nice to your wife there. It's like,
No, that was my youngest daughter. Making
okay. Right. It's a Hilding trope. It wouldn't be a Hilding episode.
I don't want to know how many rooms in the house they're allowed to go in.
That's another episode.
Have a bathroom connected to our master bedroom.
I thought you were just recording this in the bathroom, like you really had to go or something like that. It's like, wow,
well,
Colin.
To be less
Call me on the toilet, why don't you?
So anyways, the toilet talk sums up my opinion about Hawthorn.
What's the colour of their jumper? So good job.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So anyways, I decided there's only 2 games per week that air on TSN2 here, and so the next week I tried to record both games, missed one, caught the second one, which was Richmond against Collingwood, and so I watched the opening explanation of the 2 teams and decided very quickly I wasn't going to cheer for a team called the Magpies because I thought that was a weird name.
You educate yourself so well. I like how you educate yourself and you basically straight away hate the 2 teams everyone should hate. That's a good job.
See, I'm a smart guy.
You are.
Like I said, greatest. So, anyways, I decided I was going to cheer for the Tigers. About halfway through the game, one player, I don't know who he was, I don't know his name, but one player took a hit to the face. It was gushing blood from his nose. The trainer tried to take him off the field. He shoved the trainer away, wiped his blood off on a towel, and ran back in the game. And I said, I'm in love with this game. So
very Australian.
Yeah. So ever since then, I've been following it and always wanted to play. But of course, there's not much going on. And I mean, there is quite a bit more in Canada than I thought there was, but nothing in Winnipeg. There's an organization, AFL actually is connected with them. It's AFL Canada. They share branding. I don't know how much they are connected, administratively speaking. Mm-hmm. It seems to be mostly volunteers who are with AFL Canada. But I just got in touch with them basically to see if there was anything going on in Winnipeg. They responded to me first, no, there wasn't, but there was one guy who had contacted them before just to see if they had any interest. And so when they connected me with him, he's actually from Tasmania.
So I've learned. I need to hear about this guy soon, but yes, continue.
Yeah. So he actually, he played through high school and everything from what I gathered. We've actually only met once, but we've messaged back and forth several times and emailed back and forth several times before that. And he actually had a team in the Philippines.
Wow.
He organized a team so he actually knew how to get a team going.
Wow.
And that was important because I was never into the Canadian sports, the big 4, the soccer, baseball. Well, nobody's into baseball, but soccer, baseball, football, hockey, basketball. I guess that's 5, not big 4.
Not lacrosse? I thought lacrosse was your official summer sport.
Yeah, but nobody actually plays it.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
It's one of those games that's Canadian, so we're proud of it because it's Canadian, but nobody actually cares about it.
Right, okay, got it.
But I wasn't into those sports, so I never played on organized sports teams. I had no clue what to do to get it going, and he really just ran with it. And we messaged back and forth, but he did all the work to get it going, and he connected with a few other Australians who knew the sport to get things on the move. And we were able to get advertising through AFL Canada, also through a group here in Winnipeg called the Down Under Club, which connects Australians and New Zealanders that are living here.
They're not down under, they're down left. Down right. I don't know what direction they're. Who cares? They're New Zealand anyway, sorry.
Formerly down under, But yeah, so they helped us out with advertising, basically, and just through a Facebook page, a couple other places advertising, we ended up having 13 people for our first practice.
Fantastic. Wow. So that was this week. So I know we talked to Colin about that last week. And obviously I want to hear Colin's thoughts on how he went, because I've got some interesting thoughts, I think, on how you did do, Colin. But so this happened during the week. And I mean, you got 13 people show up. And so is this guy from the Australian that you're talking about, is he kind of taking control? And a lot of those people there are learning the game for the first time, similar to, say, Colin, and kind of learning the basics of the sport?
Yeah, I mean, basically the way it was there was only a handful of us there who are, Australian football fans. The ones from Australia obviously had some connection, but as far as the locals that showed up, there were just a handful, but it was pretty much, okay, if you're coming, bring some friends. And so there were a lot of people who seemed to not necessarily have as much knowledge of the game. And because he's played before, and another guy that he's actually from South Australia, he actually had played before as well, so they both had a good knowledge of the game. So the two of them kind of led teaching the game. But what he said, the one who got it started, what he said is that you need the locals really to drive the interest up, because an Australian says, oh, Australian football is the greatest sport ever, they're going to think, well, you have to say that. It would be like a Canadian going to South Africa and say, oh, you got to try hockey, it's the greatest sport ever.
Yeah.
But if you have a local saying this sport is great, then that's really going to increase the interest. They're, a Winnipegger is going to listen to me better than an Australian. Then they'll listen to an Australian. So there, there's a few of us there who are big fans. Actually, I found a couple people there. They're big Geelong fans. I don't hold that against them because the Crows smashed Geelong just over
they did, yes.
years, so I'm happy with that. But they, one of them is actually she's a member of Geelong or whatever it is when you
you become a club member.
The team.
Yeah, you show your support by basically it helps, I guess, keep the clubs afloat. I mean, they don't need it. I mean, they're all quite wealthy, but it's kind of your way of showing support. Like I'm a member of Carlton, and you get certain levels of membership. You get into a certain amount of home games a year, or like myself, I obviously don't live in the state where they play, so I kind of get a cheaper membership. And if I fly to Melbourne, I can get into like 3 games a year for free. But if I live there, you would obviously get a more expensive one and get into. It's kind of like, I guess, what you guys would call a season ticket in a way. You have sort of membership. So, and wow, so is she Australian, or is she just kind of a Canadian who loves Geelong that much?
Canadian who loves Geelong.
Wow, there you go. That's great.
There was another guy there who had traveled to Australia, and he lived in Australia for a while and actually played with a team there in, I think he said East Geelong.
Yeah.
So he had a connection there, but he's originally from Winnipeg, and now he's back in Winnipeg. So he's really excited. And when we did do our it was like a 6-on-6 game. When we did do that, he pretty much, single-handedly stopped mine and Colin's team from getting destroyed because he was blocking every kick they were going with, so that was good.
Wow. So, I mean, Colin, I need to ask you, though. I mean, you kind of loosely talked to me a little bit about this during the week, and I remember I said to you last week a few of the things that maybe might take a bit of getting used to. One of them I did say to you was the bouncing aspect of it when you have to run, and I think you said to me that was what you most struggled with. I mean, besides that, in fact, how did you find it? How did you find, I guess, playing this very unique sport?
Most of the basics that he kind of taught us for the first 45 minutes or so was easy. Like I caught on to, I'm going to have all the terminology wrong. I caught on to punching the ball really well. I caught on to kicking the ball really well, but that bounce is just impossible. It's frustrating because you get it right once and like, hey, I got this now. And then the next time it's like rolling 20 feet away from you and you're chasing after it.
Yeah.
But I mean, when we played the game itself, that was where I think the most confusion was for me because the main guy there, the one from Tasmania, he was trying to explain, okay, you guys are in these zones, so you can't really go to this zone. And these are the attackers and these are the defenders. And it's like 5 minutes straight of him explaining this thing. It's kind of like in basketball, and then he explains it like that, and everybody's scratching their heads. It's kind of like in football, and everybody's scratching his heads. And then one other guy raises his hands. Let me explain it like this. It's like in hockey, where, and he gives an explanation, and everybody's like, got it, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So once you get the basics of that, you kind of have an idea. I swear, I probably wasn't doing terrible in the game, but for the most part, it was me every 5 minutes asking, "Are we winning yet? Am I going in the right direction? Is that guy on my team?"
There's this video that I often share, and I probably have shared it with both of you before. I think maybe when Colin in the past has talked to me about, Ian, you obviously getting involved in it back before you and I ever met and sort of talked and everything. But the AFL did put out a video a few years ago, targeted mainly at Americans, but I think it is useful for all sort of countries outside of Australia, and it's 5-minute, very concise little video explaining the basics of Australian rules football, which is really, really good. And compared to all the ones online about trying to explain cricket, I refuse now to explain cricket to Americans and Canadians unless they're going to be watching a game of cricket with me, because that game is fucking hard to explain to somebody when you can't actually show them an example while you're explaining it. But so basically from this point then, Ian, so what now? Did you have enough people that the AFL Canada can basically say you're in the league, or do you kind of still have to a few more training sessions, a few more people before you can take that next step?
Well, I think we need to do some more yet. 13 was a great turnout, but obviously, you need at least 18 to have a full slate of players out there, and better obviously if you have 22, so you got some people for change offs and whatnot. So we definitely need to get more people and get more of a group that's consolidated into a full-on team. And then, there's going to be other things that need to be looked at, registration and fees and all that kind of stuff in order to officially be a part of AFL Canada. As far as my understanding goes, there's still a lot more we need to learn about that side of things. So right now it's just a matter of trying to get enough people who are committed to saying we want to run with this. And so the main thing we're focusing on right now is doing, semi-regular practices just to, and every time we do practices, try to bring in more people and try to get more attention. And now that we've had our first, we're able to have more of a complete presentation on our Facebook page in order to draw more people in. Now we've got pictures and everything like that. So it's not just a bunch of people saying, hey, we're going to try this. It's, hey, look, we tried this already. We want to do it again. So I think that's going to bring more people up, and we can get a larger base going.
Good to see. And I saw actually the post the other day you were mentioning about obviously the fans of Geelong and that you guys were in a bar there watching the Crows Cats game the other night. I mean, was that a replay? Was that live? I mean, if that was live, that would have been about 6 o'clock in the morning for you guys, would it not have?
No, it's not live. I wasn't able to be there because I was actually at work at the time. It aired between 12 noon and 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
So usually games air here overnight sometime, but occasionally they don't air them always live, and so occasionally you'll get one that's on during the day. I wasn't able to go and watch that one. I think there were just 4 of them that were able to go to this one, the 2 Geelong fans, of course, and then the 2 guys that were really showing everybody how to play the game. So they were able to go there, and the Geelong fans were able to watch Geelong lose in a public place, so that's pretty cool.
Well, it's and I think Colin mentioned to me that you have become such a fan of AFL that you've even gone and purchased the whole online access pass so you can watch these games anyway online. Is that true?
Yeah, I can, I watch them. I don't watch any of them live because I don't like to stay up that late to watch them at the time they would air. I purchased an app, and so it basically gives me access to every game. So I can watch on replay or live every single game there is. Of course, I don't have nearly enough time to do that. I usually end up just watching, 1 or 2 full games, and then but they also have, you can watch highlights and all these other things. Also, different shows they have, like there's one called Bounce, and there's one called AFL 360, and a bunch of those different shows. So I get access to those as well. So if I miss a week, I can watch some stuff just to catch up on what happens. So it's pretty neat. It's rare. I've never been interested in a sport like this. I found most sports that we have here in Canada, I find there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of time where the whistle blows, and in football they're in a huddle forever, and then in hockey the whistle blows and they got to do another face-off and another face-off, and there's just so much downtime. And basketball is just back and forth with really only one thing happening. So to me, I'm attracted to the chaos of this sport. I like a lot of things going on at once. My mind kind of works that way, so that's what attracted me to it. It was constant action, and there was a lot of moving parts to it, which is what made it interesting to me. So yeah, I'm hooked on it, and really enjoying it.
Is this what he's always been like, Colin, that he'll just get obsessed with something like this and just kind of be this obsessed with it for some time, or is this a new thing for him?
No, that's new. I mean, he kind of has the reputation of not really getting excited about anything. That's more or less what it was like growing up with him. So this must be something that he's dedicated to and willing to sacrifice his entire fortune to follow his pipe dream of being a professional athlete.
Well, you've got to start somewhere.
I have no illusions of being a professional, that's for sure. My first practice proved that I'm not very good at kicking, and that's very important to this game. So,
well, I mean, as I was saying last week, I think to Colin, I mean, there is, of course, the International Cup of AFL. It's actually this year. It's in a couple of months in Melbourne, and they have it every 3 years. And Canada does have a team in the men's competition. They finished 5th in 2014, which was their best. But look, if you happen to get a gender reassignment surgery at some point, Ian, the Canadian women's team are the reigning champions. So look, just putting it out there, you know, if
I'm going to go ahead and say that's going to happen, and I'm going to further say that I probably still wouldn't be good enough to make the team.
But yeah, I'm fascinated. I definitely looking forward to keeping an eye on how you guys go with this, because yeah, it is such a unique game. I'm of course going to say it's the greatest game in the world, as you were saying before. An Australian's going to say that, unless you're from New South Wales or Queensland and you like rugby and you're an idiot. But yeah, it's definitely a unique sport. And I mean, Colin, have you adopted a team yet? I know, Ian, you're a Crows man, and you kind of like the Swans as well, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, are you trying to get Colin to like a team?
I want him to pick his own. What I'm trying to do is actually get him to sit through an entire game.
Right.
So that's the next thing. He tried to watch one last week, which was West Coast against Fremantle, but that wasn't a very good game for him to watch.
No, that was not as tight one as they wanted it to be. But they're good ones to watch just for the crowd, because obviously it's the two Perth teams, and it's obviously quite heated rivalry, and plus Perth fans are just idiots. But
I do want to say I do have a favorite team, and it's called the Winnipeg Bears.
There you go.
There you go. Look at you, Mr. Loyal. Well, look, if you happen to pop around Ian's house, get the access of the AFL pass. My team, Carlton, played Brisbane today. They were formerly the Brisbane Bears, as I was trying to explain to you last week how they used to use a koala as a logo, even though it's not a fucking bear.
A bear.
But Brisbane are currently on the bottom of the ladder, and Carlton, we're third last. But we're two young sides that, in a few years' time, we should be up there challenging, hopefully. So if you want to, if you kind of want to go on the bandwagon of going on a team that's up and coming, you can maybe choose one of them. Or if you want to do clearly what Ian's done and just choose a team that's winning, Adelaide or Sydney, you could go for one of those. But
but if I could say, Colin roots for the Toronto Maple Leafs in hockey, and Toronto Maple Leafs is the team that everyone in Canada is supposed to like, but nobody actually does like. So I kind of am afraid that he's going to end up cheering for Hawthorn.
Well, I think it's more Collingwood, if that would be the case, because Collingwood's kind of like the most popular team technically in the country.
There's a Collingwood?
Colin.
That sounds like my kind of team.
Oh, God, I shouldn't have said it, Ian. Oh, no, what have we done? He's turned bogus.
Hang on, I'll help you out here. I'll help you out. Colin, they're called the Magpies.
That sounds like Ben's kind of team.
They are pretty much the most hated sporting club in this country, Colin, but by all means, go for them if you want to. My club's biggest rivals, but sure. It's been a lot of fun, though. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, as I said, we'll keep an eye on how things go here, because we're definitely intrigued to see just how far the Winnipeg Bears will go on their path to glory in the Canadian AFL League. It's going to be like the Mighty Ducks, little District 5 starting off, and in comes an investor, and before you know it, you're going to be beating the Hawks. See what I did there? So yeah, thank you, Ian. It's been fun.
Going with the name, though, I'd rather refer to it as the Bad News Bears than the Mighty Ducks.
Good call. And Colin, as always, thank you. You didn't really talk this much this week, but you're still Canada's number one, apparently.
The less I talk, the more popular I am here.
Time to bring it home to a close on a bumper-packed edition of The Brink. Of course, if you do like my voice and want to hear it elsewhere, you can hear me live on Edge Radio in Hobart between 12 to 2 p.m. on a little show called High Noon. Very excited to always be able to broadcast to you weekly from there, of course, in the domain where this all started. So if you are listening in Hobart, make sure you tune in. Even if you don't live in Hobart, if you head to edgeradio.org.au, you can click on the live stream and, live stream it. Also, of course, the Oz Network, a spin-off show from this show. Plenty of content coming out of that weekly. If you're a fan of Survivor, you're going to love the upcoming coverage of Australian Survivor, so you can hear that. And we might even play some of those highlights throughout this show over the coming weeks, depending on the content that we do bring you. And of course, I know a lot of you are waiting for news on the Brink Unleashed 7 since my trip, since I've been back. I can tell you that it's still in the process of being put together, so give it time and we'll announce the release date of that when we're a little bit more certain of that. But it will be in the coming month or so, so get excited. And of course, all the news will happen here on the Brink. You can, of course, stay up to date with everything that is happening with the Brink on our Facebook page. Just search for the Brink Radio Show, easiest way to stay up to date. Of course, Twitter as well, and you can subscribe to these on iTunes if you use an Apple product, or of course Stitcher if you use an Android product. And while you're there, please rate us, leave us feedback, and just tell us how you're doing, because we always are concerned about you, listener, and how you're doing. We closed off the show the other week a little bit with our 2007 in the Mix segment. Of course, as you know, every year we like to produce a bit of a best of to music, and given the 2008 theme that we're on at the moment, we thought we'd play 2008 in the Mix. This is a bit of a musical highlight from all the best bits of 2008 that we haven't played on this episode and we haven't played yet in the coming weeks. So let's hear that now. But in the meantime, thank you for tuning into The Brink. We'll be back next week for episode 36 of the Brinkaliciously Rebooted podcast. Until then, thank you for listening. Keep sucking those oranges, Hobart, and good night.
Josh, it's a great day to have you on here, because as I said, we've got so many segments. We'll get to them very soon, you know, because we have the best segments in the world, as you know. Because, I mean, just because you haven't been on the show for 2.5 years doesn't mean you don't listen. I know you're a fan. We keep in touch and everything.
Of course.
I mean, for celebrities like ourselves, we have to keep in touch. It's a great day to have a radio show, guys. I do know what we're talking about, and we're not going to sit here and pretend to actually know what we're actually doing on the radio for once and pretend that we're famous and that. I mean, we are. What am I saying, Ben? Oh, it's a car crashing. Just like we need the gap. We need the gap stat. I like using that word.
Trevor.
Stat. That's such a great word. Whoever invented the word stat.
Good old George Clooney.
George Clooney. Give me those things. Yeah, right. Yeah, we get the point. How's the Queen going for you, Josh? You won that, of course. I'll not forget the lyrics. What's it called? Squeal or no squeal?
Oh, she's going well.
Is she?
She's sitting right here.
Did you call her? I was wondering what you were stroking a minute ago. Is she? That sounded so wrong. It's not funny. Is she? You know, nicer than you thought? What's that noise?
The term whining.
That's it. Josh, not very nice. Oh, I like that sound. I think we just use that all the time as our you know, I don't care music, apparently. To you out there, and hopefully you've got your little hats on and dancing around and eating chips and drinking punch.
That's exactly right.
Punch. Do you drink punch anymore? Do we sort of?
I had something called like a.
Did you get punched? Is that what?
I've only been punched twice in my life.
You punched me. That's another story for a later time slot.
Yes, Ben, we'll get into that later. Yeah.
I'm confusing so many people.
Okay, in the world, we're awesome. Everyone else is blah. But China is cool because they have nice hotel rooms with great couches.
But I'm in the Olympic Village. I love it in the Olympic Village. How as soon as you put a towel on the ground, there's like a Chinese person to clean it up.
I was in the air.
In the air. On Thursday, you were always in the air, were you, Josh?
No, I was in the air instead of on the air.
You were just. That's not. Oh, that's all right. That's not a bad joke. I got it.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let's see. Let's test that. Do you want to try that again? I don't know if the audience was listening. Ready?
Okay. I was in the air rather than on the air. Oh yeah,
it worked. They liked it.
They're here today. They've come. They've realised just because Ben's not here, there's no reason that we can't be a part of it. So I'm just going to turn them down a little, otherwise they're going to go crazy. But no, we're
going off, huh?
I know. Look. We've got 75,000 people here in the last 20 seconds.
I know.
I know, they're coming...
It's pretty good.
They're coming in busloads. We're getting them... We've had billions here, so I'm expecting billions today. That's what I'm saying.
Josh, trap shooting is where Michael Diamond, I believe it was, won gold for us in the Sydney Olympics and the Atlanta Olympics.
I've tried my hand at trap shooting. It's not as easy as it looks.
I don't think it would be. I've tried my hand on it. May just be on the PlayStation, but that's a different story. I find it hard enough on the PlayStation. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like in real life. But that's another story, Josh. I'm sure a lot of these Olympic events are a lot more easier on the PlayStation than in real life.
Yeah.
As I would know, being an Olympic athlete myself. This week's Ambassador of the Week, though, is none other than Mr. Brad Pitt. Ladies, calm down. I didn't say my name. I said Brad Pitt. We're very similar in many aspects, but we're not going to get into that debate right now. Now, Josh, I hear you asking me, Ben, why is Brad Pitt this week's Ambassador of the Week? Did you want to do that, or did I just impersonate you very well?
Ben, why is Brad Pitt this Ambassador of the Week?
You wish you sounded that manly.
I sound more manly than you do, so don't say that.
Most women sound more manly than I do, Josh. I like being here on a Friday by myself sometimes. It's a bit different, actually. It's a bit more of it's a different atmosphere in the studio, because I think people know it's the weekend, so that they can go out and relax and not have to work and sleep in and just have a fun old time and go out and partay. He seems to be asleep whenever I want to ask him a question. I think he knows that I'm going to ask him something, and then all of a sudden it's like, go to sleep, off you go. Woo! Down a sleepy mountain. I don't know what that was, that woo! It sort of sounded a lot better in my head. Till next week, Hobart, do keep sucking those oranges. Keep sucking those oranges. Keep sucking those oranges. Keep sucking those oranges, Hobart. Keep sucking those oranges. Keep sucking those oranges.
And those grapefruit too.
And maybe a bit of lemon. And good night.